we know that there's a lot of badge recirculation, and one of the things we try to do is keep our show as qualified as we possibly can. So if I see a gentleman walking around with a badge on that says Lori on it, I'll question him. So I walked into Central Hall, and there was a guy who had a badge on that said Jan on it.
Got to be careful with that in this day and age.
So I said, hey, we're just doing kind of a random check. Just need to see an ID. He's like, oh, I don't have an ID. It's in my hotel room. I'm like, okay. And there was an answer for everything. So then I said, well, I got to figure out how you qualified to get in here, Jan. And he motions to his wife. He says, come on over. And she says, yeah, what's up, Jan? What's wrong? And I was like, oh, okay. Well, test passed.
Welcome to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original. I am Josh Henning.
I'm Phil Gerber.
I'm Jeremy Gerber.
Welcome to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original, presented by Blade HQ. Blade HQ, I hope they've been listening for the last couple of episodes. We've been talking about a lot of new knives that are dropping, so hopefully maybe a little care package coming for some new knives. I think we've talked about just about all the knives.
Got my I keep diving into those cleavers. I got a thing for cleavers. I'm gonna pull the trigger, unless
I think I found one that you don't know about that I'm gonna get. Just
don't.
I just want to
You can get it for me.
Oh no, I wasn't doing that. I was gonna get it to show you that I have it. But right now I know they're doing they just did a sale a couple weeks ago. They're always got cool stuff running. You can search by, I'd suggest searching by reverse Tonto blade if you want to be cool. Second to that is cleaver blade.
I hit Tonto cleaver highest price, and then I look at all the ones that I would love to buy for like $6,000-$7,000, and then
4 pages later.
You get 3 pages in and you're good. You find yourself a nice higher end knife, but man, the options are endless.
Go to bladehq.com/oil and whiskey to shop their selection of knives. Today's guest is SEMA's Vice President of Events, Tom Gattuso. We've also got a new edition of Roadster Shop Hall of Fame and a new glove box segment. Also, we want to hear from you. So before we get into the show, send us your questions. It could be about anything. Send us your cocktail recipes. I've already seen some pretty good questions coming in.
Yeah, question, I think, would be the way to phrase that, because I think we have a whopping uno questione.
No, we've got.
Oh, they're building up.
Yep. No, we've got a.
Okay, because I saw today's. That was
just today's post.
Okay, the solo.
It's only been up for an hour.
It's private. The questions come through. I saw looking at before the show. We're probably got close to 20 already in. So we got a lot of questions.
I said it before. I'll say it again, man. I love the listener questions.
We want them. We want them all.
Send it. Let us know who you want to hear on the podcast too.
Yeah.
There's guys out there that we should know about that you want to hear about. Let us know. We'll reach out.
Let us know. You can just DM us on Instagram at Oil and Whiskey Podcast or at Roadster Shop. But first, it's time for On the Gas. In this segment, we want to take some time to shout out an individual, vendor, shop, or company that's got their foot on the gas, doing great work, or maybe just somebody that's caught our fucking eye that we can't stop trolling their Instagram. And this week, we have
Grind Hard Plumbing. And this, when you say it, it sounds kind of funky. Grind Hard Plumbing. This is not just like super detailed plumbing work. This is probably the most kick-ass Instagram page that's out there.
Crazy shit. Anything that looks fucking fun.
Whatever we all who are into motorsports and stupid shit would like to do, that's what these dudes are doing and killing it doing it.
Yeah, it's
mini jet boats to Power Wheels bodied 4-wheelers and UTVs.
Do you know how many different ATVs I've looked at for the drivetrain after seeing this stuff to think about? And we've talked about it. Me and my son talks Wyatt's always asking, because he follows them, loves them, and always wanting to build something. I mean, you're taking a Power Wheels Barbie Jeep and just making like a mini trophy truck out of it. Kick starting 2 strokes. I mean, Dude, but like
don't-
honestly, when you look at it too, the work is like they do some pretty cool
I've just got
shit.
so many questions. I want
Who-
to talk to these guys.
Yeah, I think we need to get them on here and just, what do they do? Why? Where'd all this shit come from?
If anybody that's
Who's the
listening
brain
that
child?
knows the guys from Grind Hard Plumbing, like maybe we'll just DM them or something.
DM, dude, I'd like to. I think we got to have them on here because the amount of cool stuff that they do.
It just
Like-
looks like they're having a fucking blast all the time.
Like
If,
if
they fuck with Miatas.
this
They
is-
do any Miata work?
this is absolutely lottery Jeremy.
It's about the right size.
It is. This is lottery Jeremy right here. I fucking hit it big, dude. This is. You are not gonna see any more hot rods. No more chassis.
It's
I
gonna be a
am.
4-wheel drive Previa.
Yeah, that's a Dodge Caravan.
Yeah.
You don't dare do something like that to a Previa.
Well,
Previa's already a supercar.
the guys from Grind Hard Plumbing Company are definitely on the gas on multiple size gas pedals of all of their different creations, but we want to talk to them. So this is half an on the gas and half a, hey everybody, we need your help to try and get in touch with these guys. So
Sounds good.
set it up. Check them out on Instagram. You'll kill
Yeah,
a good half of your
Instagram.
day looking at all the
YouTube, great YouTube videos, all sorts of fun stuff.
Tom Gattuso is the Vice President of Events for SEMA, the Specialty Equipment Market Association. Also known as SEMA, is a trade association consisting of a diverse group of manufacturers, distributors, retailers, publishing companies, auto restorers, street rod builders, and the list goes on. They're also known for the annual SEMA Trade Show. I think best known for the SEMA Trade Show.
Yeah.
SEMA will be holding its 55th event this year at the Las Vegas Convention Center during the first week in November. To learn more about SEMA, you can visit their website at SEMA.org. But honestly, we've said it a couple of times. This is definitely one of those ones that doesn't need an introduction, I don't think. You should know SEMA. But let's get Tom in.
How's it going?
Hey, Tom.
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Good.
Awesome.
Good to have you on. We were just did a little intro before you came on and trying to explain to the listeners that we shouldn't have to explain what SEMA is. Everybody should know what SEMA is.
I would hope so.
You would think after this many years. But
And you're-
maybe there's a newcomer to the industry or the to the podcast so we gave a little brief description, but if you can probably do a way better job than we can about SEMA the organization, but more importantly SEMA the show, since that's your kind of that's your expertise.
Yeah, I'm the show guy at the company, and it's a remarkable event to be able to work on. To be able to work in two industries and be leading edge in two industries at the same time is kind of career defining, because we're doing some really cool stuff for the automotive industry, but on the trade show industry side, we're constantly innovating and trying to be on the cutting edge there too.
SEMA's the biggest or second biggest trade show. Is that correct?
Vegas.
In
Yeah.
Vegas?
Yeah, last year, I think we were the largest in 2021. The show we produced was the largest show to happen since the pandemic in March of 2020. But in any given year, we're probably the second largest in Las Vegas, depending.
And it's not the sex one. It's the construction one I think is bigger, the concrete or something like that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
you
the
blow your
Con
mind.
Expo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it all comes down to, there's a lot of people there, but they have a lot of, we've got vehicles that take up space. They're working with cranes and that type of thing. So just from a space standpoint, they've got a lot of obligations throughout the city that really spreads them out.
Oh, that
Very
doesn't really count.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're way cooler.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
absolutely.
We're building way more necessary stuff than bulldozers and cranes.
Oh yeah, way more necessary. So tell us a little bit about how you got your start in the industry, automotive or not. I mean, we try to get everybody's kind of origin story, so I think yours would be a little interesting on how you wound up where you're at now.
Yeah, so I got lucky because I've worked now, I think 27 years doing automotive events. So my whole event career has been really dedicated to the automotive industry. And I literally answered an ad in the newspaper to sell space at an auto show. And in 1995 started selling OEM exhibitors space. And I had kind of moved to Southern California and work in the automotive industry. And I was trying to break into that. And I saw this ad in the LA Times and was like, hey, this could be cool where I can essentially sell space to the people that eventually I want to go work for. And then I got bit by this event bug and just really liked the adrenaline rush. And when the company I worked for was doing 4 little regional auto shows, and it was just this really exciting opportunity to promote the automotive industry, watch consumers' reactions to the new vehicles, and then dip my toe into some of the feature stuff. So we would bring in hot rods or race cars and that type of thing and create these feature areas. So I did that for about 10 years. And then I went to Advanced Star, and they were starting an off-road group. And I was their group show director for about 5 years or so, and got to work on Off-Road Expo. And also they produced a trade show for the off-road industry called Off-Road Impact. So I did both of those shows. One of them kind of just stopped happening. It was a direct competitor to SEMA. And then the consumer show got bought by the Hubley family. And I worked for them for a little bit. And then I came to SEMA back in 2011. So it was funny because when I walked in the door at SEMA, because I'd been competing against them to a certain extent with this off-road trade show, I knew the show like the back of my hand. And I was probably the last person to interview for the job. But I walked in there and it was like I'd been there for a couple years already. So it just kind of worked out. So my whole career has kind of been right place, right time, but really focused on wanting to be in and around the automotive industry because I've always just kind of loved being around cars.
That's pretty cool. That's been in it for quite a while. So you've seen a lot of trends come and go and come back again and probably come back again.
Yeah, after 25 years, you can get a three-peat out of that, I think. They come and go and come again, for sure.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to forget later on. So you've been in this 27 years in producing automotive events. What is a trend that came on that you didn't anticipate? Like a lot of times you see it, you're like, oh, it's kind of, it's building, but then all of a sudden, stuff just happens the very next year that nobody really anticipated. Is there anything that you can think about that was like, nobody saw that coming?
It all depends. It's because it's like a slow moving train where it just keeps going and going and getting momentum. But I'll say I can remember being at SEMA and seeing Dub for the very first time. That I felt like didn't necessarily come out of nowhere, but it was brought to a main stage for the first time, and people sort of discovered it. And you get to these places now where you'll see a 28-inch wheel or a 30-inch wheel, and you're just like those types of things. I remember the spinning hubcaps at SEMA, and it was, again, before I worked for us, but those were things that you just didn't see coming. And there's this theory that we have where the show itself is this giant incubator of ideas, and not all ideas are good ideas. And I will say that ideas are kind of born where it starts and it just keeps getting hammered and forged into something that can be really great. So we've seen some things occur at the SEMA show and really in the industry in general that are just these ideas that start and eventually they become more mainstream and streamlined and accepted, and it just becomes normal. So from that respect, I just say that I'm surprised every single year when I walk in. The BRZ or FRS that had a Ferrari motor in it, like the fact that somebody would think about doing something like that, or just the innovation that's just constantly happening in the builder community, where they're getting better and better, and the builds are just so clean, so well thought out. And I don't know that 30 years ago was quite the same, but the bar just keeps getting raised year after year after year, and it just keeps getting better and better.
I think that's almost our exact take on SEMA is you go there and there's just so much cool stuff that inspires you. And then, everybody that we talk to is, oh, did you see this? Did you see that? And then it sparks their version of that, or using something that they saw inspired into one of their builds in a complete different genre. And then next year, like that's your goal, is to have that car at SEMA, and you want to show everybody. So I feel like it helps trends a ton grow that way.
100% it does. I'm honestly, I'm shocked with the wheel stuff though, how nobody had the foresight after year one when the 22-inch, that's the first big wheel, you might call it, showed up. Why didn't the following year somebody just have the foresight to just go ahead and make
Go
the
to 28.
go to the 28 or 30? I mean,
Just
we
go
had
ahead and
to,
jump.
it took a decade.
It's
of
always
what-
like 2.
Yeah,
Well,
2 inches, 2
24.
inches, 2 inches. Right, and here we are now. But
And then they step back and go to 21s because that thing you don't have a 21.
exactly.
So.
I always,
Right.
it's interesting. You talk about, everybody's forging ideas and stuff. Believe it or not, I've never been to a large magicians trade show, but I would assume that
It's hard to believe.
I see that. I see SEMA in its own way. Like it's a group of magicians, all with different tricks and different levels of degrees. You got the guy that's happy to show the rabbit out of the hat, and then you got the guy that's doing the the Houdini water whatever crazy trick, and then the next year there'll be 7 guys doing that same trick.
Yep.
It's wild how it's
a breeding ground.
Yeah, it
or
is
a
a breeding
launch
ground.
pad for the industry.
for all different stuff. I mean, you'll see things from the Dub or trucks or something like that will start making its way into other things. I tell you, the SEMA truck deal though out front, that's still
We haven't
something
been inspired by that one yet.
No, I haven't been inspired by that. That's something that's a little
You can
different.
take bits and pieces from everything. No, somewhere buried in there's some inspiration.
No, they took a lot of bits and pieces.
Yeah,
to
they
build
took
it.
all
We
the,
didn't-
all the bits and pieces. Right? But yeah, it's cool to see everything. Everything under the sun, every style. It's all there.
And I think that goes back to that incubator of ideas. Somebody's thinking of that, and it's coming up and it's being put on a car, and people look at it and they either like it or they don't like it, but they're moved by it one way or the other. And it just spurs this energy of, okay, this was this person's idea of cool. I'm going to show my idea of cool, and even though it wasn't what you were hoping it could be or whatever, it spurs this thing where you're either going to prove them wrong or prove you're better or whatever it is. And even ideas that some people perceive as bad spur good ideas. And that, I think, is the thing where we'll take our hits sometimes, where people will say, here's the 10 worst cars of the SEMA show, or the 10, least likely cars you'd ever want to drive, or whatever it is. I get charged by that because it's like, okay, we moved somebody to create content that's 10 cars identified. And does that make that builder get better? Does that make other builders go, well, man, I could do way better than that? And does that elevate the game? And I'd argue that it does, because we're just pushing ideas out there, and it's like New York Fashion Week. Not all the suits are cool, but they sure get you talking.
Yeah, it's almost like a fear factor type thing that you don't want to end up on that list. So you got to bring your A
step your
game.
game
Yeah,
up.
Well, there's a lot of events though that are out there, other automotive events and stuff that do some of the same thing, but it's different because it's almost like all those are parties that your friends' parents went out of town and you're having a party on your own. SEMA's like your parents allowed you to have a party at the house, but the parents are still there. So it's going to be a really cool party, but there's only so crazy you can do. It's just a different, more professional, and legitimate. I don't know. The ideas are kind of it's just a different feel, It's
Sure.
like SEMA said it was okay for me to be here, so it legitimized some of the stuff that,
We're doing.
versus just I paid my entry fee and I'm out here in the show parking lot.
Sure. No,
Right.
with all the crazy ideas, the crazy cars, all the different genres, and as long as you've been doing it, what are some of the standouts that might be considered your favorites, or maybe there's some standouts that are your least favorite?
You're not going to get him to say that. I wish we would.
No, I mean, it's interesting because it comes down to individual taste. One of my first cars was a 83 Rabbit GTI. I just like the way that that felt. It handled great. I don't think it had more than 100 horsepower, but it was sure as hell fun to drive. And there was a guy a couple of years ago that had a Red Rabbit that he had just completely done. It was right in front of the show. Was one of the stars of the show. Like that car, as soon as it moved in, kind of resonated with me, where I just kept going back to it and looking at the detail of the build and what he had done. And it's interesting because from my vantage point, I'm the vice president of events at SEMA, so I'm supposed to lead a team of really talented trade show people, and I do, but I like to get my hands dirty. So parking feature vehicles is one of those things that's a love-hate relationship. You know, I love to be able to park the cars and have the show just look a certain way. And I feel like I can really get, you know, familiar with what's going on at the show by seeing every single car as it comes through. So we're out there moving all those cars in, but that's really where I get my first look at a lot of stuff where, you know, you get that, like that old Rabbit was really cool. Some of these cars that just have these phenomenal paint jobs. I remember Kindig driving some cars in a couple of years ago. He had a couple Corvettes, you know, like these little snippets of being able to watch something move in before it's prepared for the main stage. You know, those are some of the standout things I can think of.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I know what you mean by that because we're there early, you know, moving in, and you know, because we've got a vendor booth, and when you see the car, these heavy hitter cars prior to being unveiled, and you're watching them move, and like you said, they're not super fluffed up. There might be a car cover hanging off or stuffed in the passenger seat. It's just a different level of cool because you're seeing something maybe you're not supposed to, but it's like first look at it,
she ain't put all her makeup on, and she's pretty damn hot.
Right.
You know?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, a little behind the scenes.
I've got a cool memory of our actually, I think it was the second SEMA cruise, but we did our SEMA cruise in 2012, and it was probably at that time, you know, 600 or 700 cars, but it ended, and everybody had kind of dissipated, and we were all just kind of sitting around talking about how it went, and just enjoying the fact that the show had come to an end that year, and you know, kind of winding down. And Chip Foose drove by in a 32 Ford, and nobody saw him. It was like all these. There had been 10 or 15,000 people watching 700 cars move out, and then 30 minutes later, Chip drove by in a car, and it was surrealistic. It was like, what just happened? Like, we're all just standing here. All these people just missed that, and he was just moving his car out, you know, and had a place to go. So that was kind of cool. You know, I have all these little weird memories like that are just great when you look back on the 11 years I've been here.
So show's over. You got another one in the books. You got a couple of weeks, I'm sure, that you're just decompressing and not thinking about trade show. And then, you know, you've got New Year's comes around. You've got to get back on planning that new show. What's the first thing that pops in your mind that you dread the most about what's coming, and then the thing that you look forward to the most?
So I'm on a 3-year cycle. So I'm working right now heavy on 23, but also 24 and 25. But when you talk about like right after the first of the year, thing that I dread the most is really starting to understand what the floor plan is going to look like, and wiping everything we've done and completely clean and starting from over. One of the things we do at our show, which is unique, is we literally start with a blank slate. And you guys live through it, right? Because every year the floor plan changes just a little bit. That's a lot of work.
Living up to that.
Yeah, you're super.
Yeah. But that's a lot of work. Like, not a lot of trade show producers do it that way, because it's easier just to go, okay, everybody that had the space last year, you got first right of refusal. We decided a long time ago, because this show's like 55 years old, we decided a long time ago that we were just going to do it by seniority every year and keep it fresh. So that's just a lot of work, because it's probably 2.5 solid weeks of me and our operations director in a room trying to predict where people want to go.
I don't see how that's that big of a deal. You're making it out to be like it's all this work, but it's not like you've had a global pandemic for 3 years. It's not like that the convention center's added square footage or taken away square footage or built a fucking tunnel or built a new building or said you can't have. I mean, what's the big deal?
A lot
Seems
has
real
happened.
straightforward.
Yeah, there hasn't been any changes whatsoever.
The only thing I see as a constant is Moon Eyes. I feel like that's a brick and mortar. that is a retail location that
It's
exists.
in the convention
it's
center.
permanently there.
It's there in the Connex.
So that's there, and then after
could
that,
be.
you have to figure out where everything else goes.
No, obviously
Yeah.
we're giving you a hard time.
Right.
But
Well, no, I mean, and it's funny because I worked for a guy a long time ago where, and when I was learning how to do auto shows, and he was just like, we're making it look too easy. The board of directors doesn't understand how much work we're doing, and they're asking for more and more and more. They don't realize how hard it was what we just did. And I'd say that was last year. You know, we have this weird existence in our industry where sometimes I feel like the umpire at a baseball game. You know, if you do it right, nobody knows you're there. If you make one bad call, they hate you for the next 10 years, right?
that's what I see. It's
And-
like you're the parents that let the kids have a party. You still got to make sure that they don't get out of line.
Exactly. But last year we were going through COVID, and that was a whole special treat in and of itself. But in order to lower the risk for people to have confidence to exhibit, we extended our cancellation deadline all the way to September 1st. And I bought into that. I may have even recommended it at some point, but what happened was after September 1st, we were going through a lot of cancellations, and we had basically etched our floor plan in stone. And then every single day for the next probably 40 days, we changed our floor plan every single day for about 4 hours. And it was never quiet enough because you can imagine 60 days before the SEMA show, it's a little hectic. It was never quiet enough to do it until about 6 or 7 o'clock at night. So I've got an operations director, I've got our sales VP. We had a couple sales reps every single day for 4 hours redoing the floor plan just to make it look normal. And the goal really was for people to show up and go, that looks like a SEMA show. It's a little different, but cars out front, booths, new products, like it looks good. But the amount of work that went into that is something that I have to compartmentalize and not think about. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I'm sure it's like when you guys do a build where it's just like, just to make this one thing work, it was sleepless nights and lots of work. And then people go, oh yeah, that's a cool grill. Like, you have no idea.
Yeah, it's like
You have no idea how cool that grill
right.
is.
It's 10,000 parts that all need to come together. And it's all the things that nobody really sees or realizes that make it or break it, you know? So it's just like, you know, same thing with SEMA. People aren't looking at this and say, oh, this is so fantastic. They just know it's a great event. It's organized. It flows. It feels cool. I'm enjoying being here. Not because of one particular reason or because of one layout. It's just done well as a whole. But it's all the details, I'm sure, just like a car.
What's even worse is when they look at that grill and be like, oh man, that's cool. So what are you building next? And I'm sure they do the same thing. So
Yeah.
So this is cool. On Tuesday, so
what's
you
going
open
on
up.
next
So,
year?
so next year, what are your plans? Where are we going to be at next year?
Exactly. Well, no, and it's funny. The analogy to a car build is one where, just to pick your guys' brains for a second, a lot of times I'll see the show done. So for, you know, if you've been in the show on Monday afternoon at like 2 o'clock, there's crates all over the place and rolls of carpet, and people will go, oh, there's no way this thing opens on Tuesday morning.
Yep.
And I look at it and I go, oh no, that crate's got an empty sticker. That roll of carpet's going to get laid at 5 o'clock tonight. And like, it's already done in my mind, even though it looks chaotic. And when I look at a car and a car build, like I'll go to our SEMA garage and they'll have parts all over the place. I'm like, there's no way you're going to put this thing back together. Do you guys see it done when you're doing that? Just because you know it's all going to fit together? Or does that give you anxiety when it's all apart?
It's very similar to the SEMA show where it's like 2 hours before you need to have the car in the trailer and there's parts and pieces everywhere and there is no chance it's going to get done.
Well,
But somehow
Yeah.
it's
But it
done
gets
on the
done.
trailer and make it at SEMA.
But you do see, I mean, you see it from the get-go. That for me,
you see
anyway,
it done
before I even start it, when we just begin discussing the project, I see it done to even the most like minute detail, and I
Yeah.
think that's why it gets done and done right. I'm sure, just like you probably have a vision in your
Exactly.
mind of what that SEMA show is going to look like, and there's no hurdle, nothing that's going to prevent you from making it look like what you see in your head. And you know,
Yeah.
to your point, we're there every Monday night
Right.
setting up, and I say the same thing. I'm like, oh my god,
It shows
you know,
open in 6
how
hours.
is this? I mean, they're gonna end up postponing this thing, man. It's not gonna open tomorrow.
Well, we did
It is
Yeah.
wild to see. And then
We-
you step out on the floor the next morning, and it's like, it's literally, I feel like it's stepping out onto like the field at the World Series. It's that feel. It's the like
Yeah.
sensory overload of everything. It's
Yeah.
shocking that they got it done. It's great that you're there. It's, you know, the lights, the smell, the feel, the sound. It's just really an unbelievable experience.
We did it with the new display, 3 years ago or something like that. Our new SEMA booth. You know, that was very short time in the making, and there was no renderings, there was no drawings, there was no nothing. It was just we're going to order some of this from this place. We're going to build this part from this place. We're going to, you know, build these stands, and we had never seen it until we set it up.
Yep.
It was probably not. Don't do that, anybody that's listening. Go ahead and set it
Yeah,
up prior to.
a dry run is always
Go
good.
ahead, dry run. So, but we put it together, and it was that way. It was kind of very much like, yep, that's exactly what we saw. We already seen it in our mind's eye before we built it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's one booth out of how many tens of thousands are
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
How many? What is the vendor count generally?
So generally it's about 2,400. Post COVID, like right now we've got 780 in right now. We'll probably end up somewhere between 1,800 and 1,850. So, you know, it's a good, like I always used to have a marker, like a good show was 250, 300 booths and, you know, 150,000 square feet. We're probably, you know, including the outside space, a couple million square feet and 1,800 exhibitors. So, you know, and probably again, because we get this creative side, like it's very tactic oriented. But I see the show relatively small in my head. It's not a 2 or 3 million square foot campus. For me, it's 5 buildings, and each building kind of has its own structure to it. And again, in my head, I see that kind of small. And I think that helps where I've got teams of people that look at it much differently than I do. But when I'm looking at it, it's all pretty small and manageable. And it's this vision, like you said, that you're pushing because we want this experience to happen. And I've never seen a trade show where people like have a memory of the first time they went, or they keep their badge every single year, or there's like this head count, like, oh, this is my 38th one, or I was at Anaheim. You know, they've got these things that they hold like a badge of honor. That's so cool for our industry that people do that with their trade show and the association that kind of helps represent them in the industry. That's not like that for the dental convention, I don't think.
I don't think so. I've never been to one, but
You'd be a weirdo if you were.
Now, you've done a phenomenal job of kind of setting that stage, and SEMA is the Super Bowl, the World Series, the Graceland, you know, for our industry. I think that's beginning of the year. It's what everybody's planning on, what you're going to have to SEMA. SEMA is always a deadline for getting cars done, for getting new products done. Like, it's the place to get out there and get in front of everybody, and you want to have your game dialed when you show up at SEMA.
It's so weird timing wise though, because it's like it ends your year for shows, really, but it also begins the following year because there's so many debuts. It's always been weird not weird in a bad way, but from a car builder standpoint, because it's you have to make a lot of decisions throughout the year of, okay, we're gonna debut this car at SEMA, you know, but then we've got so and so shows the following year, but then is the car kind of done or old, or it's always just the timing of it is difficult from a car builder. Not difficult, but
Yeah,
odd.
it is odd. It's odd, and I mean, it's never at the right time. Like, we've
And
got
they have it every year, but it gets
we
closer
can't
and closer.
seem to right, and that falls solely on the builder. I mean, you get right, like Josh said it. You guys don't change it. I mean, it fluctuates a few days, but the builders, we just can't seem to get our shit together. But it's become such a desirable place to debut a car as well. Like, for example, we have a car that we've been driving it for 3 months now, sorting it out, and it's been. I mean, we could have debuted it at half a dozen other shows, and we've just been holding it back, and it'll make its first public appearance at the SEMA show this year, and it's just become that. I mean, it's that big of a deal to debut a car there that if you're not ready, you're thrashing until the day before. But if you are ready in advance, you're holding that car back, which
you're
is
adding to it and still thrashing.
Right. It's seldom happens. I mean, we'll still figure something to thrash at the last minute, but
I said that before. They have SEMA once a year, every 3 months. Like it's just the way it comes on the car build side.
Yeah.
How important do you guys feel the cars are to the show? I know it's supposed to be a manufacturer's trade show, but I think it's definitely evolved into a car show and using the car as the lure to get people into your booth. How do you see it from your side of the table?
So I look at it as a painting, in its most simple form. If you look at our manufacturers as producing paint, and the car builds as the art that the paint manifests itself into, that really for me is the thing, where the cars are just this canvas that the parts come to life on. And if you can get them moving, with the SEMA Cruise or some of the drifting that happens out front, that's even better, because now you've got this piece of art that's moving, and it just causes this visceral reaction where you're just like, okay, that is cool. Like, one of the things I like the most about what we build is you literally can step on the grounds or get off the monorail and head down the escalator, and you can see it, you can hear it, you can smell it, you can almost taste the industry. And it's like, it's palatable, where you just go, okay, I'm home. And a lot of thought goes into that. And we do it really just to be able to have a place where everybody can gather, and then kind of just stand back and let the magic happen. But we can't give enough credit, I don't think, to the car builders, because they're, like you said, they're out there thrashing right before, and it never is at a good time. But what ends up happening at the show is incredible, and it surpasses itself every single year. That's the most amazing thing.
So here's a question for you. This one might be a little unusual. There's a lot of thrashing leading up to the show for these car builders. How often have you had to put a stop to the thrashing that maybe continued through Tuesday, where somebody might be like putting a seat in a car or hanging a door? Or how often? Because I can imagine, I know there's been things down to the wire for us, but it's usually like a sticker or an emblem. But I'm sure I'm sure there's people that take it a little too far. Has that happened? Is there any memorable experiences there?
Yeah, I mean, you have to stop at spot welding and that type of thing. I mean, that's kind of a good, if you're causing sparks, that's a good indicator.
Sure.
But again, we're a rules oriented, or seemingly rules oriented. But if somebody's out there, this is their livelihood, and if they're trying to put the finishing touches on something, and we can allow them to figure it out, I want to be able to do that, because there's so many stories of people or companies that have come to the show and it's transformed their business or transformed their life. So I hate to be able to step in the front of that, but at the same time, Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock, we open, and our expectation is, hands off.
Yeah.
So you're saying
those cooking shows, it's like hands up.
It's almost like Iron Chef or something, right? The buzzer goes off and it's done. Like, you got to eat it.
Exactly.
That's it.
But he's also kind of winking, like, if you don't get caught, we might have a few more hours to kind of get that thing polished.
So from what I'm taking out of this, it's a no sparks policy. There's just no welding.
It's got to be hard enforcing
We've
rules.
seen a lot. We've definitely seen a lot.
It's got to be hard enforcing rules to an industry that's built around breaking rules.
Yeah. And it's funny because I got a good taste of that when I was doing the off-road events. They're one of their iconic races is the Baja 1000, and you look at some of the history of that. So you can imagine moving the off-road expo out in Pomona, and it's like when that show ended, people would start their cars. It was mayhem. So you get in tune with that, and it's really, it all comes down just to safety. Our rules are really designed towards making sure that people are safe and that we can all enjoy this thing for those 4 days. And again, it seems like we're rules oriented, but really when you get down to some of the stuff, it's such an industry that's filled with passion, and so many people want to be associated with it, that in the early days, in order to keep the show floor clean, if you will, or I should say, just more true to the buyer-seller relationship, there were some obstacles in place to qualify people. Where we are now, though, it's a place where we're seeing some marketplace changes. We're seeing some manufacturers that do want to hear directly from some end users, and we've made some changes along that respect. So that's loosened us up a little bit, and allowed people to be able to, through our SEMA Ignited event, buy a ticket that gets them into the show on Friday only. And that's going to be expanded this year to 10,000 enthusiasts, because last year we did it with 5,000 and it went well. So we're constantly trying to change it and make it as user friendly as we possibly can. And we've just got to strike this balance between having the value there for the exhibitors that are really investing in putting their best forward for the industry, and connecting them to the end user, and whether that happens that week or throughout the rest of the year. We're right now exploring what that can look like in a different way.
Well, I got two topics that I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit, and I think these are the two that you probably, as an industry, as an organization, personally, and as a show, take the most heat from, or the most questions, or it's the most argumentative topic that comes up in our industry. First would be seniority. Explain. I'm sure you've heard. We had a previous guest on not many weeks ago that shared his.
He does not agree with the seniority situation.
Yeah, he was. I don't know if you've listened or not. He wasn't a fan.
Here's a clip of Richard Rawlings trash talking the SEMA show back from episode 12.
They're not for anything. They fucking suck. And feel free to play this in its entirety at SEMA. I mean, they just don't get it. They're not in it for anything but the money, the lockdown, the freaking, there's a lot of explanatives that I want to use that I can't use.
We appreciate the restraint.
Like this, try to get a ticket, to try to get entry, to try to do anything, the amount of money that they charge and everything else, when it's not necessary. Just open the thing up, make it cool, let people buy their little booth space, make people be able to buy a ticket and come in. It's crap.
Right.
But explain how that actually works for guys that maybe have never been to the show, are thinking about getting into it, maybe are discouraged because of the seniority thing, or they've been there last year, that was their first year. And there's a lot to unpack on how that works. But it kind of explain the mentality of it, how it works, and what your thought process is on paying your dues and getting and doing your time.
Yeah, so believe it or not, ours is like overly simplified. And as a self-proclaimed trade show nerd, I follow what other shows do for seniority. Ours literally is you get one seniority point for every year you exhibit. So if you exhibit 50 years, you've got 50 points. And We do have a negative, where it goes in the negative direction. If you miss 2 years in a row, you lose half your seniority. And really that's just to have people perpetually participating. There's other shows that will go how much you spend, what the size of your booth is, if you bought a big sponsorship, and they'll give you points based on that. And it's really hard to keep track of when you do that. But what it does is it allows companies that spend more money to get better locations. And when you look at our show, and I would not expect that you know it this well, but almost 75% of our show is 20 by 20 booths and smaller. And if you look at that and say, okay, 3/4 of the event is small booths, and they've likely been here for a long time, why would we give the people that spend the most money the preferential placement? And really, if you looked at it from a vantage point of, well, that's the show, that's the cool, that's the sizzle, you can make that justification. But we're a trade association where we represent our members all over the world on what they need. And it's the most fair thing we can do. You get a point for every year. We start with a blank floor plan, and based on your year, you get a chance to pick, and we give you the best option at that time. And it kind of goes from there. So we're never going to please everybody. And it's like a call at the Super Bowl. If you make it wrong, half the people are mad. If you make it right, the other half are happy. And it just is what it is. It's something that we know happens, but we feel like this is the most fair. We've also got an event that we produce in December where they do it a little different, where you get first right of refusal of your space. And that's worked for them for more than 30 years. So it really just comes down to what people are most used to and what works based on a historic level. But when you put new people in it that aren't familiar with how it works, it doesn't seem intuitive for them. And I think one of our goals really is to say, okay, if we can figure out a way for a new company to be able to come in and kind of earn their time, and then get into a place where they're happy and they can grow. That's a goal for us, but it's hard. It's hard when new companies come in and want to be at the forefront, because we've got such a rich history. I mean, 55 years of exhibits is tough to overcome there.
I think for us, we went through the system and we paid our dues, and it wasn't, wasn't awesome, but at today it's phenomenal. I mean, we have an awesome booth location, but I think in the early years, the little like glimmer of hope, or the loophole, I guess you might say, is slide something into new products, because there's nothing that prevents you from putting your product in the new products, and everybody checks them out. So
and you're going to be seen.
Right. If it's good enough, a strong enough performer, you've invested enough time and effort into it, even if it's your first year out there and maybe your booth location isn't the most desirable, or you don't feel it's the most desirable, I think that still is an option to
it's a great option.
Yeah, to put your product like in the limelight right in front of everybody.
No, big time, because we've got statistics that show that almost 60% of the people report going from the new product showcase to an exhibitor on the show floor. In 85+% of buyers come to the show with a plan, and we try to make part of their plan going to the new product showcase. So these people are researching our floor plan in our mobile app to figure out what companies they want to talk to. Then they're going to the new product showcase to look at new products that are new. And we've got it all built in where you can favorite exhibitors that way. And that's how they're finding you on the show floor. So you're absolutely right, where I'm not going to be the cliche trade show guy that says there's not a bad space on the floor, because it all comes down to perception. And we do a lot of work trying to move traffic everywhere. But you've identified it. Being in that new product showcase puts you forefront, and it's such a level playing field where there's no indicator of size of booth or how cool your display is. It's just, here's my product, here's this product, which one do you want to go look at?
Yep. Yeah, you could have been a exhibitor for 55 years, or this could be your first year there. Your products are sitting right alongside each other. So the product speaks for itself at that point. If it's great, it's great. If it sucks, it still sucks there, just like it does in your booth. You know? I'm sorry.
With the expansion of the new hall, are you guys able to add more floor space, bring more people in, get more vendors, more opportunity?
Yeah, we definitely have. And it was, the timing of everything was good and bad at the same time, where they built the new hall and they were building it as COVID hit. So they stopped, or they were able to keep construction going. But what they had stopped was this renovation plan. So they were going to build the new hall, and that was just say 600,000 square feet of exhibit space. And then they were going to start taking the same amount of exhibit space and shutting it down in the current building. So this past year, 2021, we were supposed to have the SEMA show without Central Hall. And then the next year we were supposed to have it without, I think, Lower South Hall. So you can imagine, like, I'm working 3 or 4 years out. I was doing scenario planning in 2017 of what the SEMA show is going to look like in 21 without Central Hall. Like, can you imagine that scenario planning?
That's difficult.
It's like no Central Hall, right? So because during COVID, hotel occupancy went down, the building wasn't able to raise the funds to do the renovation. So we were able to have Central Hall in 21. And now they've built their schedule where they're going to start renovating these things kind of around us. So now we're at this place where it's like, okay, we were able to get through this building expansion and spread everything out. And now as the industry starts to come back post-COVID, we'll be able to make everything a little bit more how it was pre-COVID, but now we've got this extra space. So we dodged a bullet in terms of the renovation. We'll see how it all comes out, but it's been really good. And one of the happier moments I had was taking 3 or 4 scenario plans of doing the show without Central Hall and where you put Racing Performance, Hot Rod Alley, and the Restoration Marketplace, and throwing that all in the trash can and just going, okay, we're normal. And you know, so the next 3 years, we're going to be a little construction zony, but we're still going to have our halls. And I think we're going to still provide tremendous value for the people that come, because at the end of the day, I look at it all as connections, and a buyer's connecting with a seller, an enthusiast is connecting with a manufacturer. Like, these things are all happening at the show, and we're still going to be able to have those connections, but we're going to be growing along with the renovation project at the convention center.
Next up is the second most, or it's probably more controversial, but I led with the softball.
You're throwing the heaters here.
Yeah, I'm bringing it. You know, this is a conversation. It's not all about fluff. You know, he's been told how good he is. You know? We don't have to do that all the whole time. So this is something I've been in a part of many of arguments. I've listened to many of old school guys in our industry make the argument both ways, bitch and moan and complain and get pissed off. I've sat in many of HRIA meetings talking about this exact thing. You've got a board of directors. You've got a even larger, your trade show organization. So you've got a very large group of constituents, of members, of people that are saying, no, do it this way. No, do it this way. I've been here for this long. I'm new. Do it this way. The trade show only portion. I know you touched on this and talked about it. You've got SEMA Ignited. You're growing that. Mm-hmm. What are the discussions and what is the schools of thought as far as this is for trade show only? If you're not in the industry, you don't need to be there. I get some of that argument of that's what it is. At the same time, I don't have a dog in the fight, really. I'm not trying to prove one point or the other. But yeah, there's also the argument to be made that if people are wanting to get there and see it, you are of benefit to the trade by letting everybody see it. It's much like the TV shows.
So you're basically getting at the very exclusivity of
there's
getting a SEMA badge, basically.
There's arguments.
That's where you're going with
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Okay.
Well,
It's
he
a
knows
long
what
way
I'm
How the
talking about.
hell do you get a SEMA badge?
Well, no, there's and is it going to stay the way it is? I know you're continuing to open up. You've got the Friday thing, and to be honest with you, from the trade show side of things, from us, after doing the show all week long, it's difficult for us to want to continue on through Friday night, and do SEMA Ignited and do stuff like that. But at the same time, I get
Trade show after a trade show.
trade show after a trade show. So just explore that a little bit. I know you know what I'm talking about, and it's the let everybody in, or make or sell tickets, or it's a car show, but it's not a car show, it's a trade show, but you've got to know somebody, but this guy's in here, and then this.
Yeah. So it's interesting because they've been talking about this on a board level for the better part of 20 years, I would bet. And every year it gets revisited. And something happened during COVID. And it was this phenomenon where the marketplace changed, and it changed more rapidly than it had in the past. And it involved enthusiasts going direct to manufacturers more so than they had in the past. So you had these manufacturers that were like, oh, well, that was easy. I just sold one of something, but it was a pretty easy transaction. And technology has advanced to a place where, hey, I want to do more of that. So some manufacturers have built into their e-commerce being able to do this direct to enthusiast interaction. So really what we looked at from the trade show level and really the councils and networks and the board was, okay, if the marketplace is changing, and it changed rapidly during COVID to kind of give us this indicator, are we skating to where the puck is headed, or are we skating to where the puck is right now? Because the puck's moving. So we took this opportunity and we said, all right, let's see what would happen if we opened up the show on a limited basis to 5,000 enthusiasts, and what would be the reaction to that. And we had these people with special badges so that the exhibitors would know who they were, and we just kind of gauged it. And some of the manufacturers were really, really happy with it. And it doesn't matter to them if they're talking to somebody that wants to buy a pallet of their product or just one single piece of it for a project they've got in their garage. And there's other companies that aren't interested in those singular conversations. So really, we're going to lean on the marketplace and technology. And we're going slow because the marketplace hasn't moved fast enough for us to go quickly. But we're going to open it up to 10,000 enthusiasts this year. And it all goes through this Friday experience through our SEMA Ignited event. And then from there, we're going to gauge what happens next. And I can say that we're seeing this marketplace change from the automotive industry, but at the same time, with my trade show nerd hat on, there's a change happening with the way people are consuming trade shows. Because with the great resignation that happened during COVID, there was a piece of the labor pool that left the marketplace. So there's either younger people in this new labor, or there's younger people that are doing new jobs. So they're going to trade shows for the first time, and they want more. They want more than just walking down aisles and seeing products. They want to be entertained. And we've been lucky because we've kind of always had that. But we're going to do more and more of that because there's this value equation of, am I going to get out of my shop and be able to justify coming to an event for 2 or 3 or 4 days? And am I going to learn anything? Am I going to see new products? Am I going to see trends? Am I going to be entertained? Like, is it going to be worth my time to do it? And we're going to build that. We've already got it kind of in our DNA with things like the drifting out front and all the vehicles on display out front. Trade shows don't normally do that. But we're watching really close both of these changes in these two industries where our marketplace has changed in automotive, but the trade show industry is going through a transformation, and we're going to be on the forefront of where the trade show industry goes because we've got this really cool event to be able to do that with.
I think you've answered it more honest than I've heard anybody from SEMA answer before. But I will say, if your position was an elected position, you'd be just fine because that was the most politically correct answer.
Yeah, it was very good.
Well, no, see, I have to sleep at night,
Yeah,
right?
but-
So I put all my chips in on the marketplace. If I'm not reflecting that, like at the end of the day, if I don't reflect the marketplace, we did it wrong.
You're right.
If you go to the SEMA show and it's what I want you to see and not what the marketplace is, we're not going to have a lot of traction. So I sleep at night trying to mirror the industry.
I think the market's going to drive where it goes, and you got to react to that. We always say it's evolve or die, and if you're doing the same thing forever, you're going to get blown right by. But we see the writing on the wall that a ton of stuff is going direct to consumer, and that was my thought process on it. Is you're getting away from a lot of these big business to business transactions where the manufacturer is selling to a reseller who's then selling to the general public, and you're getting a ton of people going direct to the manufacturer, especially in our industry. I mean, there's very little high
those days
volume.
are gone. Those days are gone.
I think on one hand you're probably blocking off a huge customer base of enthusiasts that aren't in the industry but are consumers of the industry. At the same time, I know how packed the SEMA show is currently, so it's kind of hard to fit, 20 pounds in a 5-pound bag, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that is nice about it, when you look at it and compared to like a Chicago auto show, which just the general public, I mean, if you can buy a ticket, come on in. There are vehicles there that are in excess of $1 million. There are displays that are, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. And everybody in there is a diehard automotive enthusiast. They're in the trade. They're very respectful of everything there. There are no cars that are roped off.
Right.
Everything is right there. You don't have to worry about a shift knob being stolen or anybody opening up the doors and sitting in the car to work the pedals, and nothing gets damaged. I mean, I've seen in all my years there, I think I've seen one poor old guy have a little whiskey throttle situation on his mobility scooter, which can happen and cause a little bit of damage. But, but other than that, and that's just a pure accident. But I think that that's important for the show. But, like if you can figure out a way to bring in more diehard enthusiasts to open that up, because sometimes it does feel like if we want to bring a customer in who has a showcase vehicle there, I feel like I might have to put him in the trunk to get him in the door. It can be very, very difficult to.
You could do that. I mean, they've got those captchas. Are you a robot? I mean, you could very think, is this a Hemi? Is this a this?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I want to share a concept with you because, again, I'm way deep in the weeds on this thing. But one of the things that happens if you do our Friday experience is, as an individual, you become a member of SEMA. We have this new SEMA individual membership. And if you look at that from a concept basis, if we have 10,000 people that have joined SEMA as an individual member, and now when things like the RPM Act and other lobbyist efforts need to happen, we've got this group of people that are supportive of our industry, call it invested in our industry. So it's not necessarily an enthusiast off the street, but it's somebody that's like, okay, I'm an enthusiast and I want you to protect my right to be able to modify my car. And I want to know the truth about what's going on between electrification and hydrogen and internal combustion. And somebody needs to represent me in DC with those issues. So I'm going to invest in your association and be an individual member, and I want to go to your trade show. So now we've got this conversation where it's like it's consumers or end users, yes, but it's somebody that wants to invest in the industry with our exhibitors. So that for me puts it on a higher level of support, where it's an industry homecoming for the manufacturers and buyers, but also the end user. And I think we can get to a place where they can both live in harmony, because we we for 55 years we're pretty strict business to business, and that's never going to go away because the value is always going to be there. But if we can do something on Friday and change the paradigm a little bit to mirror the marketplace, I think what'll happen eventually, like the 22-inch wheel, it'll become a 24 and then a 28 and 30. Exhibitors are going to tune in and go, okay, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were awesome. Friday, I'm going to have a great day too, because I'm going to get these people that are like so rabid for what I do that it's just going to be energizing for me. We're not there yet, but I see a place where we could get there.
Do those individual members get the same volume of emails as the regular SEMA members get?
Yeah, since gloves are off, if you guys could not send out emails that breaking news, Connecticut gets a leaf on their license plate, those would be phenomenal and keep them to relevant information.
That is a rumor.
I get those emails. Illinois extends antique vehicle plates to 1971.
Some people,
right, so-
not everybody's like us. Some people actually are really
consume
Yeah.
that
Right,
information.
So we're in the same realm, right? I'm a bourbon aficionado, right? So I'm always looking for collecting one other bottle that's hard to get. And ironically, I shouldn't pull it out, but I've got bourbon here at my desk at work because I go to the grocery store and I'll see a bottle of Eagle Rare or Blanton's or something. I'm like, okay, you can't leave that at the store. You have to buy that. And I can't bring them home because my wife is tired of all the bourbon I'm bringing home.
I'm in the same boat. Another one? Let me guess. This is so rare you just had to buy it. Yep.
Yes. So I forget where I was going with that. So,
Emails.
oh yeah. So I joined a place where they were selling like the Russell's Reserve 13 year, right? I get 5 emails a day from them,
Yep.
at least, or, anything niche specific. And I look back and I go, okay, we're less than that. And are people reading our message? And what's the sweet spot? So you have to know behind the scenes. When I say it's a rumor that we send so many and you say, I get them, you got to know behind the scenes. We're looking at that really close and we're trying to cut them down, but still get the message across because, talk about not sleeping at night. When people come to the show and they're like, oh, I didn't know about X. I'm like, really? Because it was everywhere, So they've, to your guys' point, maybe they've tuned us out. So just know that behind the scenes, there's trade show people like me and there's marketing people who are trying to find the balance because we understand it. We hear it and we get it. And we're less than some, I'd say that.
Yeah,
That's a solid point there.
that is a difficult one. There's a sweet spot there.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I
Yeah.
can't tell you what it is, but
I think that, we're busting your balls a little bit on that, but it is difficult because no amount of proper social media, email blasting, or wording will get the message across to everybody, and the majority of them read it correctly and they get it. I mean, we do Instagram or Facebook ads all the time, or a post, and it's brand new Nova chassis, $13,995, whatever it is. First comment on there, nice chassis, how much?
What's
It's
that for?
It's like, what's that fit? You're like, come on. It says it. It says it right there. But
Yeah.
you're to your point. It's you want to get the information out there, no matter how much you do it. Some people are going to be missed, and the ones that do read probably are a little annoyed about the flag on the whatever plate.
Yeah. But going back to your other point, that's probably a really good idea to get people involved in the industry to then get them access to the show. Like you said, it builds the automotive base, and you've got a much larger crowd behind you when SEMA needs to go to bat for some of these causes, and can tap a lot more people to help with that, and then
Right.
gives them the benefit of being able to get to the show and come to Graceland for Friday at the end of the show.
I'm telling you that
Yeah, 'cause-
that captcha idea is gonna. That's it. Which one's cool? And you've got 69 Camaro and a Prius. If they check Prius,
you can't
you
come.
can't come. It's easy.
You don't think like there will be some sort of bot that will figure that out? And
Yeah, that'll be years down the road. That won't be our concern.
But no, the industry is at a tipping point where there are things like the EPA and the California Air Resource Board who are heading in specific directions, and just if you just do the math, it doesn't move as fast as people want it to move. So we're going to need to be represented, and we're going to need to be able to protect the hobby. And again, trade show nerd time. The last 2 weekends I spent, I went to Roadkill Nights in Detroit, and then I went to the Motor City Grand Prix just to watch how events happen and watch enthusiasts interact with brands and that type of thing.
You don't have to sell. You don't have to sell the expense report to them, and we get it.
but ICE engines aren't going anywhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? And our hobby needs to be a hobby, and somebody needs to protect it. So that's what we're trying to do. There's evolution, and we're all about evolution, and there's a place for all this stuff. But it just needs to be represented the way that the hobbyist wants it represented. And I think that's our role of a trade association, and it's changed. You know, we were started in 1963, almost 60 years old. And now we've got a whole new thing that we're battling. So it's cool. It keeps us energized and really keeps us fresh.
What's one of the biggest difference people are going to see at this show that they're maybe don't know about or not expecting, or something that's going to change the landscape from the last few years?
So I'd say some of our benchmark things, you know, the area out front where there's drifting is going to be a different company, because Ford's not going to be participating in the show this year, or the big space that General Motors has always done is now going to be filled with Dodge, and they're going to have some really cool stuff going. So it's going to be these things that people have normalized, that have changed, that they're going to notice the difference, but they're still going to be at that level and higher, because they're just really cool. The other thing I think that's going to be a big difference between this year and last year is we're 25% more of everything, more products, more cars, more exhibitors, because last year we went to the show with about 1,350, 1,400 companies. This year we're going to be about 1,800 or so. So it's going to be bigger. And I think what's going to happen is, last year, as you saw, the people that were there were stoked about being there. And there was this FOMO that happened with people that were standing in the sidelines going, it's going to be terrible. They're going to fail. Nobody should go. And then all of a sudden it was like, I wish I had gone. I should have gone, you know, and everyone's like, you missed out. So now we have this year where there's going to be people who haven't been since 19, who saw the FOMO last year, and they're going to come. And we've got the people that were there last year who are going to come, and it's just more momentum. So when we're looking at 23, 24, that's where it kicks in, where the West Hall footprint is now going to be normal in 23, because it'll be our third year. And we're going to have had the luxury of going through this COVID transition to acclimate people to it. But when everything is firing back on all cylinders in 23, our show is going to be the biggest it had ever been, and it's going to be accommodating more people, and it's going to be the best value that we'll ever produce. So we're looking forward to that, knowing that this year is a stepping stone towards that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, we were in the same boat. We were skeptical last year about being an exhibitor, or just straight up attending the SEMA show. And we made the call to go ahead and let's do it. And that was the best call that we could have made. It was
Best year we've ever had.
probably the best year we've had. It was a little bit light on exhibitors or a little bit light on vendors. It seemed to be pretty up there with exhibitors, and it just made the show easier to navigate, and just drove more people to the Roadster Shops booth, which
Quality of conversation.
it worked out great. I thought it was a phenomenal year, and I think, like, you know, what you said is that this year people will have caught on to that, and attendance will go up, and the stigma of it being an off year is now dead and gone. So hopefully it'll rock
Yeah.
and roll.
No, it's going to rock and roll. We've got so much education and new products and features and everything planned. It's going to be incredible. And whether or not we're the largest show in the country this year, which I think we're knocking on the door probably of being able to do that, it's going to be the best show for our gathering our industry together. And really, it's going to be something you're not going to want to miss.
Explain the Ford GM situation just a little bit of what you can and what your thoughts on it or take on it or what.
Yeah, so we've got two OEMs, and listen, you can put Honda in that same group and call it three that have supported the show for a number of years. And if you look again, if you look at marketplace and you look what is happening with supply chain and labor and vehicle sales, it would make sense that an OEM would look at our show and start to wonder about return. And then you've also got these paths that they're on where they're going down an electrification path, and they're doing this for a myriad of reasons, not the least of which is shareholder concerns. And they're making these strategic decisions, and they're looking at marketing budgets, and they're saying, okay, vehicle sales aren't where we'd hope they'd be. Supply chain issues are tough. What are we going to do for the year? So it wasn't like they're increasing all their shows and they said, we're going to take SEMA off the list.
Sure.
It was more this strategic decision from them. So we have to accept that. Like you said, for 27 years, I've watched manufacturers come and go and come and go. And it happens on the largest level and it happens on the smallest level, where you'll get a parts manufacturer that'll come to the show for a couple of years and then stop and then go back because they've had this strategic shift. So the cool thing is that we've maintained these relationships with the folks that we're working with at the OEMs. And we're still working with them on things like our SEMA garage and our tech transfer and all the ADAS technology that we're getting into. Because we just opened up a new SEMA garage in Detroit, and they were all there. So we're still friends. It's just this wasn't the right year, and I expect they're all going to come back because the value equation is there. It's just the timing wasn't right. And again, if we're mirroring the marketplace and we're saying, okay, what are vehicle sales doing versus people holding onto their cars and needing to modify and upgrade, there's a shift there, and we're reflecting that. So you get this support from new players, and I think that's the most exciting thing is Toyota said, okay, let me do some different things. And Mopar has been part of our show for years and years and years, but Dodge came in and said, okay, we want to do something in addition to Mopar. So we're going to have the big Mopar space in Lower South Hall. We're going to have this big Dodge space in Central Hall. Toyota is going to take the space that's kind of in the middle, right at the top of the stairs. And the show's going to transform. So it's refreshing, but at the same time, and again, I'm going to have to play politician because I really like the folks that we work with at Ford, GM, and Honda. We're not done. We're still talking to them on probably a weekly or biweekly basis. And when they're ready, we're going to be ready. And I think the industry is just going to be that much better at that time, where we're going to take this awesome event and we're going to add more stuff to it, and it's going to be even better. So you got to look at that glass half full. And if we go back to our party analogy, their parents went on vacation and then they had to go with them.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
They're coming back.
I was going to go to the parent analogy as well. And what would you tell to the other kids that were thinking about coming to the party? They're like, oh man,
dude, it's still going to be a
Jay
good time.
Gustafson's not going to be there. The
Keith
cool
Krasny's
kids
still going to be there.
Yeah, if the cool kids aren't coming, then I'm not coming. I look at that as the opposite. I'm like, if the goal is good to go to the party and meet hot chicks, the hot chicks are still coming. You've just got a couple of the other guys that aren't going to be there, which probably
Sure.
increases your chances. What would you say to those guys that I guess I don't know how many people made, decisions to go and exhibit at the show based on Ford or GM, but you hear those rumblings out there. A lot of it's just because you've been in this industry long enough, that although it be predominantly male driven, we act like a bunch of
high school girls,
Right.
and they love the drama. We love to talk about the drama, and everybody loves oh, did you hear that Ford's not coming? Did you hear? And it just runs through the rumor mills, and everybody says it makes a decision, but I don't know if it really does.
Sure.
Well, what would you say to those guys?
So I need you guys to answer me as honestly as you can when I ask you, have you heard, and we'll go back 8 or 10 years, have you heard, based on the seniority conversation, the OEM shouldn't be at the show at all? It should just be the parts manufacturers
I absolutely have heard that. Look at all that Ford's got. I bet they haven't been coming as long as so-and-so's been coming. Yeah, but
right.
Pull them and see what they say.
Right. So it's like 10 years ago, it's like, we don't need the OEMs. It's like, well, no, we do. So that's how I answer that one is, it tends to be people wanting to go, okay, here's a weak spot. Let's exploit it and see what happens on social media. I'm going to light a fuse and walk away and see what happens. And here I am holding the firecracker going, hey, we're going to have a great event. And it's not about which specific people are there. It's more about the connections that you make, because physically, and I do this whole number thing at our exhibitor training session, but physically, if you had a 5-minute conversation back to back to back to back over the 31 hours that the SEMA show's open, you can have 372 conversations. Now, of those 372 conversations, and that's back to back to back, how many of them were going to be with Ford and General Motors? 3, 5, 8, 30, pick a number. You're still going to have 360 opportunities to have other connections happen. And that again is the magic. It's for me, it's managing these 5-minute conversations and being able to make the most of your time at the show and really benefit that way.
I think that's one of my biggest takeaways from this conversation, and as a whole from every time I've talked to anybody from SEMA staff, is they won't come out and say it the way that I'm going to say it, but it's very much of, look, we're going to do the best job we possibly can to put on the event and allow you to come. It's up to you to work hard and make it the best for your company. It's not up to us. We're going to do the best we possibly can to prepare the hors d'oeuvres and get the seating right and get everything like that. But if you want to dance, you got to come and dance. Like put on a show. Yeah. And it's been, that's I guess it's been a theme running through this season's podcast is it's still up to you to put on the work.
100% it is. I mean, it's not doom and gloom with these OEMs not showing up. Sure, you're used to walking into the SEMA show and seeing the beautiful blue backlit, display for Ford and seeing everything GM has, but what are you, the hot rod builders, the automotive aftermarket, other than checking out, the cool builds and
20, 30 cool cars, but you're not going there to buy a.
And they do some cool awards,
right, yeah.
Ford Design Awards
Sure.
and GM Design. But at the same time, like he's saying, who are you losing? What customer is not going to be there because Ford's not there? Or what person's going to look at the car that you just built?
Yeah. And to answer the question about Ford and GM, they're not going anywhere. Like for us as a roadster shop from a business standpoint, I mean, on a daily basis, we work with the SEMA tech transfer program. I mean, our engineering department is constantly retrieving various GM models, Ford models. So obviously the relationship's still there.
Right.
They haven't gone anywhere. They're just see you next year.
on things that they need to focus on. And it's just, at the end of the day, you can't fault somebody for making their best educated business decision.
Yeah.
So going back to
sure
putting in the work yourself to make the show the best for you or for your company. You've been doing it for 25, 27 years. What are some pieces of advice? What are, a few of the best things that you've seen companies do to get noticed and make the show the most impactful for them?
For sure, new product showcase is number one. The second one really is planning who stands where in the booth. You know, if you've got a person that it's impossible for them to have a 30-second conversation and qualify somebody, like every conversation's half an hour, don't let that person be your greeter. You know, like put these people where they belong and really handle.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking it.
But handle your whole thing strategically. You know, you got to have a plan. You got to work the plan, but constantly measure how it's going, because I rattled off that how many conversations can you have thing, but you're going to have X number of opportunities to make a connection. You have to be as efficient as possible with those connections, and that's going to make your show. And if you go in there and you sit in the back, or you're on your cell phone, or you're eating in your booth, and a buyer walks by, he's like, "Oh, I didn't want to interrupt that guy because he's having a piece of cold pizza that he paid $14 for."
Sure.
Then you've lost that connection. So keep, be on your A game. And also, one of my lines is, you got to practice before you get there, because I've worked enough trade shows where by Friday my pitch is perfect, because Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday I was honing it, and on that fourth day I am on the whole time. If you want to transform your show, practice your elevator pitch before you get to the show so you know it dead. And then on Tuesday morning, the first person you talk to, it's the same as somebody on Friday. Like, you're going to make Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday that much better. And people don't look at it like that. They kind of feel like, I'll just figure it out when I get there. You got to come with a plan. And if you come prepared, you'll be way better off than everybody else.
That's solid. That's a lot of.
That's 100% me on the just kind of, you'll figure it out and wing it when you're on the floor. But you're much better by the end of the show. So
Practice those pickup lines, back to the kids' party. I try this with every guest, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But what is it? What is a story about something that's happened at SEMA that most people, maybe you've told your family when you've got home or something? I want to hear something that's, whether it be an exhibitor or an attendee or something that you're scratching your head thinking, what the hell is going on? There has to be something that pops in your head right now.
There's a couple. One of them is super serious, and one of them is kind of funny. But the funny one really was, I have this tendency to walk around the show and problems find me, right? I don't find problems. So we know that there's a lot of badge recirculation. And one of the things we try to do is keep our show as qualified as we possibly can. So if I see a gentleman walking around with a badge on that says Lori on it, I'll question him. So I walked into Central Hall, and there was a guy who had a badge on that said Jan on it.
Got to be careful with that in this day and age.
So I said, "Hey, we're just doing kind of a random check. Just need to see an ID." He's like, "Oh, I don't have an ID. It's in my hotel room." I'm like, "Okay." And there was an answer for everything. So then I said, "Well, I got to figure out how you qualified to get in here, Jan." And he motions to his wife. He says, "Come on over." And she says, "Yeah, what's up, Jan? What's wrong?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, test passed. Thank you, Jan. Have a great show." But the serious one, though, is in 2017, we were 30 days to the day after the shooting at Mandalay Bay, right? Just a terrible, terrible ordeal. And talk about, change of plans. We started to scenario plan a bunch of stuff and at a high level. And my company picked me as the person that answered all the customer service calls on what's our security plan and is the show going to be safe, and I don't feel safe, and the whole 9 yards. And we went into our SEMA cruise, and some knucklehead made a threat. And at 3:00 in the afternoon, SEMA crew starts at 4. We're meeting with our chairman of the board and our president and these Metro police officers and the whole 9 yards. And in a very quick period of time, we figured out that it wasn't a threat. It was just a scare. But that was one of those situations where you call home and you just go, we're doing it and everything's safe. And if rumors get out, it is what it is. But that's where you scratch your head and you just go, man, this is hard work. And people are targeting us to a certain extent in terms of what's the industry going to bring. And we do it for that passion. We do it because the industry needs it and the industry loves it. And it's the greatest automotive event on the planet.
Well said. And in full transparency, Jeremy is known for coming clean to Phil on a lot of things on this. And I'm now, after having this really good conversation, I feel guilty. So I got to come clean to Tom. I
know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been a member of HRA for probably about 4 years. My term, termed out, business got too busy. I couldn't rerun, but I have used my gold member badge on a multitude of times to get in to the show when I either didn't want to carry my other badge. The gold badge is really small. It's easy.
Right.
But the big hanging around thing, or there's been times where it's been like after hours and we had to get something or do something to the booth and all that. And out of respect to you, I'm going to stop doing that because I have done it many a times.
Now just come in the front door. We know each other now. So just come in the show office. We'll get you hooked up.
All right.
Great.
He's writing that down right there. Check Josh's HRA.
They don't ever look at the date. You're just like, yep, I'm here.
We
SEMA.
just
I'm a
tell
big
it. We
deal.
just dealt with that at the Good Guys show.
Yeah, we did.
We have a stack of tickets, this big, but Josh forgot his ticket, and I never empty my wallet, so I've got my Good Guys annual pass from like every year for 3 years prior. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know, just flash this and be like,
yep,
it's passed.
If
It worked.
Yeah.
You've got to do it with confidence. You've got to be in a hurry, and you got to flash it with confidence, like you know where you're going. And 90% of the time it works. But then there's the other guy that's like, yawn.
With all the different industries in SEMA, what do you see as being like the standout? What's really growing? What's taken off from off-road to race and performance, hot rod, wheels? Where do you see the growth?
I definitely see across the board growth with electrification. Like that's happening, and it's got its roots in, and it's starting to grow. I'm excited to see some of the growth in overlanding, even though that's been around for quite a while. It's kind of taken on a new life, so that's pretty cool to watch. And then, I just like the concept of what your favorite car is, in this theory that it's what you grew up with. And I can remember going to a car show with my 8-year-old, and there was a guy with a Ford Falcon that asked him what his favorite car at the car show was. And my kid said that McLaren P1 over there. And the guy's like, really? You don't think this 64 Falcon's cool? He's like, no, that P1 is cool. And you get to this place where, like, when I saw that Rabbit that had been customized, like, that was my first car. Like, I thought that was really badass. So is there going to be this place where the hot rod gets younger and younger, if you will? And what does that look like for the industry? Because if you could throw an 83 GTI with the same color scheme that mine had, I'd buy that thing in a heartbeat.
Dude, if I could find a 96 Probe GT right now,
exactly.
bought. It'd be bought.
Yeah, 91 LeBaron. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the 4-cylinder, but if I can get a turbo GTC 6-banger, dude, I'd shovel I would shovel out some cash for that.
Yeah, but you're 100% right. I mean, that the industry is aging, and as that age comes, those cars get newer and newer and newer.
Sure.
Yeah. Fox body Mustangs is a great example.
Yeah, Yeah.
We just picked one up for a great customer, good friend. That what was the mileage on that thing?
1,700 original miles on it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll have me a notchback Fox body in the next 3 years. Right about the time they just absolutely get
Tank.
stupid. I've got on here, this is a note. We have a producer and then puts the notes together, and sometimes we follow them, sometimes we don't. But I saw one that caught my eye, and it says, "We understand that there is a designated area for podcasts, and I want to know how nice is our podcast booth there? Can we get like something special? Where are those at?"
So it's funny you say that because we haven't built them yet.
Okay.
But they were just going to be in areas that had kind of overlooked the show floor a little bit.
Yeah, I want
So
the one
we're-
right above Ford's
Yeah,
ramp.
that's what I was gonna say. If we
right
can call
above
Oh, that
dibs
little-
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fishbowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how that would play on camera, but
Oh, we'll figure that part out. You just lock down the venue and we're good.
no, we got to do it. We got to do it for
Absolutely,
sure.
man. We would love to. We get a lot of people asking about that.
Yeah, we've been kicking around the idea of doing maybe 3 or 4 episodes there throughout the week with some different guys, builders, celebrities, all that kind of stuff. We got a lot of people that we've had on that are like, "Hey, were you doing it at SEMA? Let's do it at SEMA."
Yeah, if you want to do it, we should talk.
Okay, we
Yeah, let's
absolutely
figure it
want
out.
to do it. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Now we come to the standard questions.
Dun dun dun.
This is questions we ask every single guest. Maybe if somebody remembers at the end of the year, we're going to do a montage of all these answers. Phil, you got to remember to do that. Or
That
tell
was my
somebody to
idea
do
at the beginning.
Yeah, I know. Just keep remembering to do it.
All right.
First up, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
There is no next year.
Better bring
Yeah,
it.
everybody always says like, "Oh, next year we're gonna do this, that." There is no next year. You got to do it now.
That's good. Apollo Creed said there is no tomorrow, which is
It's very similar.
yeah, very similar.
Yeah.
It stuck with me. Rocky fan.
Apollo Creed, Tom Gattuso. Yes.
Bam, there you have it.
What's the worst piece of advice you've ever received? It's a new one. I
Wait.
threw it in there.
Wait till next year.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Well played.
What is the best car movie and why?
Oof. I would just say Gone in 60 Seconds, just because it's so good and so bad at the same time.
That's good. I'm with
Yeah,
Gone
you.
in
I was
60
questioning
seconds,
the
I think,
choice,
is-
but it's a great, a great description.
Yeah, that is really
But
good.
Gone in 60 Seconds, we'll have to go back. I bet you that's in the lead. Gone in
A
60
lot,
Seconds
yeah.
comes up a lot.
You'd be shocked.
Mostly
that,
for Angelina Jolie.
that
but-
and the first Fast and the Furious, but
Yeah.
these die-hard car guys, I mean, you'd be
Yeah.
you'd think more like American Graffitis and
Yeah.
more bullets, but that comes up a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this is a standard question. But we already kind of went over it, unless you have a better story. If not, we'll cut it out. But what's your best SEMA story?
Oh, there's a lot of them. But I'd say one of the ones for me that stands out is I started knowing the McClellan family through Mike McClellan when I worked at Advanced Star. He was our marketing director, and he helped me with our off-road expo events. So I didn't even know his dad, but I got to know Dave because Dave hosted our banquet for years and years, and I learned about him. And I'm pretty naive, so I didn't know his history, and I learned all about it. I was like, "Oh man, Mike, your dad's a big deal." But when he got elected into the Hall of Fame, they rolled his car onto the grounds, and they took the tuna tub off the trailer, and they looked around and was like, "Who wants to drive it?" And it was really literally just steering the car. And I'm not super tall, so I was like, "Shit, I'll do it. So let's jump in." So that was pretty cool to have his car the year he was going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, and really him and I shared this affinity for talking on a stage and the adrenaline rush that happens with that. We were able to share some of that stuff. So it's really getting to know Dave and then being able to pilot his car, I'll say, into the Hall of Fame room was pretty cool.
Well, I've heard you talk on a stage, and you do a good job, but you ain't got the voice like Dave McClellan had. I mean,
No.
that's
That's a
No.
voice, dude.
he was the voice of SEMA because I mean, remember, especially years and years back, you know, when he was doing so many different events. You'd go to 2 events in a night, you know, and Dave would come up and announce, and Dave would come up and announce, and you always knew that it was kind of like if Dave was announcing that it was a legitimate event. You go to something and it was,
It's
you know,
the real
somebody
deal.
else. No, I don't think anybody's been able to. Rick Love's got a good voice, but he doesn't have a Dave McClellan
He'll
voice.
get there. Rick's
with
yeah.
age.
Yeah. No, he was
He's getting
great.
pretty old. That's a good one. What's your favorite car? Don't say the Rabbit. We've already talked about the Rabbit. Say something different.
No, so I'm a 3-pedal car guy, and really my favorite car is going to be the one I currently own. You know, I'm tearing up a BMW M240i, trying to turn it into an M2. But I just like a car that's just fun to drive and just reminds me of the gear patterns of cars that I grew up with. So I'd always kind of done the 3-pedal car my whole life, and they're getting harder and harder to find. So when you get one, you got to hang on to it.
That's a real car guy there.
Well, yeah.
Miata's
Like
at 3 pedals, right?
Yeah.
Most of the good ones are.
Yeah.
Phil's a big Miata guy. I don't know if you've ever listened to the podcast before, but big Miata guy. Let's see. What's the very first car you've ever owned and a story about that car?
So it was a 73 Super Beetle, and I split it with my sister. And I think the day we bought it, she never drove it. So I eventually had to pay her, like 10 years later, I gave her the $600 that she had put up for that car. But there was no way that I was gonna not be the primary driver of that car. We still talk.
And last but not least, fan favorite, it's time for a pocket dump. You've got to tell and show us what is in your pockets right now. And I guarantee you, even though he's not a fabricator, there's either a Sharpie or a highlighter in that pocket. There's got to be.
Highlighter.
This close to
Oh,
the show?
Sure.
I've got nothing. I've got my wallet.
That's it?
So
Just a
that's-
wallet?
We can go
got
desk
my
drawer
wallet.
too.
Oh, you can go on your desk or desk drawer.
Oh yeah. So I gotta hold on.
Oh, we get an Eagle Rare.
Eagle
I'm just
Rare.
catching the top.
Yep, that's Eagle Rare.
And a Blanton's.
Yes.
So I'm not joking about the bourbon collection.
No, not
You
at
know,
all.
These are all the same family. You know,
Yep.
the Blantons you have to do. You got to
Yeah.
do the Eagle Rare.
You're going to get a
Those-
strongly worded email from Spagnolan.
Maybe, but they're unopened.
Yeah. it's
Yeah,
true.
they're very clearly sealed. We saw
They're
it
very
right
clearly
here.
sealed. So yeah, I've got my GTI that I talk about all the
Yep.
time. I've got my BRZ, which is a car in my
What's-
stable, if you will.
What's a bottle Eagle Rare run out there in California?
$35.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that rare to find, or is it fairly easy?
It's getting harder and harder to find. You can find them at a grocery store,
What's
but it's getting harder and harder to find.
Blanton's $60, 65.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get it on the secondary, it's crazy, but
Oh yeah.
Blanton's out here has become an absolute unicorn. And even
Yeah.
at the local like Quickie Mart type places, it's $250.
Phil, where were you at in
Yeah.
California a few weeks ago?
Oh,
Come up.
down in Del Mar. Del Mar, stopped at a few liquor stores that had like everything you could ever imagine, like every Pappy birthday bourbon, like any rare allocated stuff, and the prices started like $1,000 and went up to like $5-6 grand. It was insane.
They had it.
Yeah.
They were charging for it.
That's why they had it, because nobody's paying
Yeah.
$1,500 for a bottle of Weller 12.
Well, Tom, this
Yeah.
has been great, man.
Yeah,
I really appreciate
It's
it.
been really cool.
awesome. Yeah.
Good-
Appreciate
good
it, guys.
Insight on the inside track on the show and what everything you got to put up with, and
Yeah.
we'll see you.
And
We'll see you soon.
it's going to be hammered down for us, and we'll see you in a few months.
Yeah. 70 days.
Any
We're
chance, can we move that to like 80 days? Because we got one car that's kind of cutting it close.
Doesn't matter. It'll still be cutting it close. It'll
Nope.
still be cutting
Tuesday
it close.
morning, 9 a.m. We're doing it.
I will be there, man.
I appreciate it, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right.
Hey,
Take care.
take
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Big thanks again to Tom Gattuso. To learn more about SEMA, check out SEMA.org. Coming up next, we're going to break down some of our new favorite pieces of gear in the
Glove box.
glove box. It's time for the glove box. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
You don't look like you're ready.
It's already ready already.
That's because my fucking glass is empty.
We're about to get into it.
Are we going to get right into that? Or are we going to keep with either the bourbon that is no longer here or the empty glasses, or is there something else?
Well,
Or are we going to save that for another special occasion?
I was
I think
going
that
to
should be the whole glove box.
I was going to say that's the glove box.
The glove. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it is time for the glove box. We did the cool jingle earlier. I mean, it's super cool. So hopefully they'll put that in right now where we did it.
Yep.
That's the cool part about the jingles we do is they're impromptu. They're not even practiced.
And
I know it's hard to believe.
To
Yeah,
be
it
honest,
sounds that way.
honestly, I don't think people would believe that. Like,
Yeah,
it sounds wildly rehearsed
I know.
and edited.
It's spur of the moment.
Yeah.
We're going to get Phil in. But it is time for the glove box where we tell you about some of the cool new gear, guns, EDC shit, whiskey, and other stuff we're into. And speaking of whiskey, what do we have this week?
Whiskey.
Whiskey.
We have
Careful with that box now.
so the other it just a
A few weeks ago.
few weeks ago. Yeah, it's hard to keep up with it, but we busted out some pretty special stuff, and I thought I was bringing the heat. I thought that a 1959 Old Fitzgerald was something really special.
And it was.
It was at the time.
Yep.
And now I believe we've been gifted something that is even more special than that.
We
And
got
this was
shown up.
I
something
think you
super.
got one up. Yep.
Yeah, this was super cool. I thought, I was flexing, right? But
You need to hit the gym a little harder.
oh goodness, check this out. So, I'm a box guy. We all know that.
You are a
We've
box
talked
guy.
about that.
Well, let's go ahead and get it right.
So
Right
the
there.
box is fucking awesome, and it is obviously a Woodford Reserve product, which those of you who are bourbon guys, you may look at that and say, okay, yeah, I can go grab a bottle of Woodford at any liquor store.
Not in that bottle.
Not this bottle.
You cannot. And what I will say to that is that the few bottles of, I guess, kind of like special releases that Woodford has have been really, really good. Like they're double oaked and
Their Master's Distiller collection.
yeah, phenomenal
Yep.
stuff. And honestly, like Woodford itself is an awesome bourbon. Just
It
to-
became so commonplace that people, whiskey snobs started being like, "Oh, it's Woodward."
right, but it's good.
Yeah, when you
It
go
lost
to a
the novelty
casino
factor.
and when you're at some place and you're like, "Oh, they've only got Woodford," even us sometimes snob it a little, and then you get it, and you're like, "Oh, shit, I forgot this Woodford actually is pretty damn good."
But what is even better, and we have not tasted this yet, but I can only imagine, is a bottle of Woodford Reserve, which
Special bottle.
is their Baccarat edition.
That's a French
Okay,
glass.
I'm going to dive into this, right? Get the box out of there, but there is something else in the box, right? So it's not just the light's kind of killing this, so I'm going to try to keep it where we can read this. What we have on this Woodford Reserve Baccarat edition is a 3D machined Velocity Modern Classics Builder Syndicate RS logo. So our buddies over at Velocity gifted this to us and spent a great deal of time. They didn't take the easy way out of machining or laser engraving a flat emblem. They 3D scanned the bottle and got that profile. From a top view, you can see that. That is a nice, it's a consistent
Perfect
radius.
contour, Yep.
Nevertheless, it is a radius in both directions. That is a compound curve, as we say in the industry. And they machined a awesome logo, emblem, if you will, on there, along
Applique.
with
Yeah.
this, which is, I guess, reflective of their
The
shift knobs
knob, yep.
Yep.
for a stopper. So we have billet everything, along with a bottle of very, very, very limited edition Woodford Reserve, which
Finished in cognac casks for 3 years.
I
Got a
don't
nice finished
believe
flavor.
that I have consumed anything of this
Look at the
level of
thickness the glass
exclusivity.
at the bottom of that. That's crazy.
So, crack it
Let's
open.
get
man.
after it. Go ahead.
This generally would be one of those bottles that you just never open, right? Would be like the staple
Stuart
of your
and Cody
collection,
over there at Velocity really stepped up the game, and
you would never
showed
open
us
it
a good
because I'm
time.
even struggling to open it. But just go roundy, 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 round.
excited.
See, honestly, I was going to put this on the secondary market and sell it. Like now we're fucked. But look, dude, there's some heft to that. That is a brass Woodford Reserve. Again, hit the sky cam, Josh.
Let's see.
We have a Woodford Reserve brass topper.
Oh, that thing
comes
does
in
have
it.
some weight. Check that out.
All right, fellas.
Pour it up. Are we
Yeah.
going to talk any about the little trip we took and the electric fishing reels?
Yeah. And the chum.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. We just several weeks ago,
Dude,
or a few weeks ago.
I work out. Obviously.
Well,
Really? Do you run as well?
It's heavy. And so we went down and visited the guys at Velocity down in Pensacola. We had never seen their new facility.
Super impressive.
Yeah. Wow.
The amount of square footage and Broncos and processes that they've got going was. You hear a lot of people like talk they're going to do stuff in volume and they're going to do quantity. I think that was a insane eye opener for what can be done in our industry and in the automotive aftermarket.
That's a guy that has a plan and stuck to the plan and is doing it for sure. Great facility, but at the same time, I mean, what a host.
What a host, great facility, great team. Super cool, for me being an operations guy out there on the shop floor every day. Very cool to see.
I thought
The highlight was probably being greeted in the first 3 minutes. The very first guy that we ran into. Hey, Phil, I used to race prep Miatas for NASA back in the day, so we got that in common.
Yeah, we've basically ruined Phil's life.
Yeah, we've done a good. We didn't think people would listen, and it turns out they do. A lot of them. So that's cool.
So yeah, we had a great weekend.
Thought we were going to do a little fishing. We did, but I thought it was going to be a little Gulf fishing. I've visited that area a lot when I used to live in Birmingham.
Yeah,
and I've never
done it to that level.
No.
So fish, yeah. I mean, I live on a tiny little lake. I can walk right out the backyard and I just cast the pole.
Yeah,
catch some bass, catch all sorts of stuff. We go down to Florida and we've done plenty of fishing. You go up 10, 15 minutes out there into the ocean and you can snag some fish. But this was a little bit next level.
Yes.
70 miles offshore.
Yeah. And we're going to run 70 miles out on the shelf.
Yeah, 70 miles out on a shelf in a sport fisherman. Pretty fucking cool.
Let me tell you, that's
1,000 to 1,500 feet of water.
That's a ways out there.
Yeah.
Long ways.
Like the fishing was awesome. Everything was awesome, but the fucking burritos, cooking burritos out 70 miles offshore on a little, on a little gas grill.
Yeah, we got to get
that is where it's at.
supplier for those.
Velocity, thank you for everything, but
cheers. Let's
thank
try
you
this.
the most for the
cheers to Stuart.
The bourbon and the burritos, man. You shoot this, right? Sorry.
Oh wow, that's definitely different in a good way.
Yeah,
but it's not at all what you're expecting from a Woodford.
Big departure from what we were drinking, and a very big departure from just Woodford.
Yeah, that's good.
Got
awesome flavor.
I go back to I know I don't have a lot of words, so I use the same ones over and over. That is a more syrupy, more thicker consistency.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. Really.
A flavor profile, more what you would find on some of the Dusties. It's a more older taste. I don't know if it's just from.
Do they throw an age on that at all?
I think they say aged 3 years or 5 years in cognac casks afterwards. But I don't know if there's an original. You read that guy.
Probably in that right there.
Dive into that, Josh. You're the voice here.
Woodford Reserve Baccarat Edition is crafted by uniquely finishing the most flavorful and balanced Kentucky bourbon in the finest XO cognac barrels. The result is the best of both spirits, a balance of crisp American and French oak notes, complex fruit character, subtle spiciness, and a creamy confectionery finish.
It's got that
Tasted
all
all
going on,
that,
man.
yeah.
I can get a creamy confectionery finish.
That's generally what I look for.
Yeah. History and heritage meet innovation and sophistication. Woodford Reserve is known for being full of flavors from our masterful combination of wood, water, grain, and time. For centuries, Baccarat's award-winning artisans have forged crystal objects of timeless elegance from a combination of matter and fire, expertise and inspiration. Now, these two icons of craftsmanship have come together to create Woodford Reserve Baccarat Edition. Nothing about the age in here.
It was on the inside of the box, I think, when you open that up. Something. No, doesn't it say right at the bottom?
No.
Whatever the age is, it's right. They aged it for
it's aged in
exactly
cognac casks.
how long they needed to.
But it
because
was.
it
We
is
looked
good.
it up. It was because it was like 3 years in the cognac barrels,
Yeah.
wasn't it? And however many years before that. So
Yeah, most of the other finished stuff is like a half year, a year
Yeah.
in a Chardonnay or whatever cask. I've never tried anything in the cognac casks. Not a cognac fan, but I think it has a really unique, good flavor to it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. So listen, if you're not a cognac fan, there are a lot of classic bourbon cocktails that before they were bourbon cocktails, they were cognac cocktails. Like a Sazerac, for example, that started as cognac. I mean, there's it.
Look
And
at you bringing the
yeah,
whiskey.
no,
knowledge.
bring the heat. And when you have one with cognac in it, it's actually quite good. I mean, I don't think that I would sit down and sip a glass of cognac,
But a
but
cognac cocktail.
it also sounds like cognac. That's one of those kind of like deceiving things because that's one you associate it with being something high end. So you can take like the shittiest cigar and just say that you've cognac dipped this, and all of a sudden it becomes something very high end. I don't think that applies here because this is obviously
this
fucking phenomenal.
This is really, really good. You never know when the special edition and all the pomp and circumstance that goes around with it, if it's actually going to be good spirits. But shit, that's really good.
It's going to be a tough one to leave in the bottle. I think when Stuart gave it to us, like, you guys just want to crush this in the hotel room tonight.
Like, no, dude.
And then
No,
we didn't really, open the box. Like, I don't know that we're going to be crushing this in the hotel room. I think this is a savor the flavor type situation.
Yeah, this is really, really good. So this was a special edition glove box brought to you by Velocity Restorations and their awesome Woodford Reserve Baccarat Edition. This is really good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Do you want to go ahead and do your knife, even though you brought it, or you just rather not do it? Your knife for the glove box?
I got a few different things today. You can say, I guess I don't know what you'd say, but
I know what I'll say.
Yeah, fire it off.
Josh is gonna say something. So I grabbed this little guy.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm getting to the end of the Gerber knife collection at this point.
The Jeremy Gerber knife.
Yes, I'm either
Right.
due for I got to do some shopping on Blade HQ, or Blade HQ's got to hook it up.
Yeah, we're running
Either or, it's fine.
Either way.
But yeah, I mean, this thing, dude, this is your classic body shop
It's a
knife.
body shop.
It
knife. I
is
was gonna
not made in China, and I know that because it says "Made in Japan" right on the blade. So I mean, you can see it right there if you want to zoom in on that. But that's a snap-on knife, dude. It's a Kershaw. I'm sure that there are a lot of listeners out there that have grabbed that knife, been gifted that knife.
Is this a tool truck purchase?
It is.
Yep.
Well, if you have an epic snap-on toolbox, I would hope that your snap-on guy has gifted you one of those for Christmas.
Mild flex there.
A little bit of a flex. Kyle just bought one, I
Kind of
know.
a big deal.
Kyle just bought one. So
Did Kyle get the knife?
he better. Christmas is right around the corner. But dude, look at this. So honestly, it's a Kershaw knife. It's a good blade. It's got good action.
It's got a wrench belt clip.
Yeah, the belt clip is actually kind of cool.
Yeah,
okay.
kind of cool. All right, fuck the knife.
Yeah.
Go ahead and put your hand back. down.
Oh, yeah, you guys may have seen this as I'm reaching. So
I caught something
you
in the camera there.
you may see something
That's
that
cool. Your son's watch.
No, I have changed my watch, and I have a very exclusive timepiece, I would call it.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't call that a timepiece? But let me unvelcro it for you. I got to do that twice because that is a
double Velcro. It matches your wallet,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
double
You know what else it
Velcro.
matches?
You keep. What does it match, dude? Look
Your
at this.
wife's
honestly.
shoes?
Check this thing
new
out.
Shoes he's got on
Yeah,
today.
No, I saw this sucker and I had to have it. It is a freestyle watch. So that dates back. Freestyle's been around a long time, dude. And that's a shark leash since
Just throwing terms out like it's just commonplace, like in everyday vocabulary today.
Dude, like if you're a fucking badass, you know what's up. That is since 81. It says it right there on the fucking band. Okay.
I get it.
What?
This
What?
is- no,
Show me
nothing-
your watch.
I don't wear a
Josh?
watch as of yet.
Yeah. Okay.
There's nothing wrong. Listen,
It's digital.
I think it's fucking cool. I
You
think
know
it
it's
looks-
cool, dude.
it
Look at
looks-
this.
It looks awesome.
Look at this. If it's dark out, can you see that?
Nope.
Oh shit! Hold on, I'm pressing a bunch of buttons. I gotta press this one.
Is it Indiglo?
It's 100% indigo. This thing will just absolutely illuminate somehow.
Looks like it.
Yes, there's a lot of features here. Like this,
this
It's
I-
a timer.
yeah.
It's a.
It can go. It has night vision. It says that right on the top, and it can
It
go
has
to
night vision.
300. It says it night vision, 300 feet of depth.
This is the deal. All right.
It's basically an everything watch, diver's watch, night vision watch.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. It's a good looking watch. And here's my problem with all of it. As
You have
of late-
what's your problem?
No, I don't have
Josh?
a problem.
You have a lot. You have like many problems.
It's
With,
so abrupt as of late in the last probably 3 weeks from a guy that's been predominantly all dark, black, mostly.
I've been Johnny
and-
Cash.
and earth
I've been
tones.
Johnny Cash for 20 years.
So
We
Black.
just jumped into fucking neon
Yeah.
80s.
So look.
You-
Here's the deal,
you-
dude. I spent 20 fucking years, black shoes, black Dickies, black Roadster Shop T-shirt.
Right.
Okay.
Is this just like a quick little thing you gotta get out of your
It might be.
system?
This
Because
could. Yeah. This could be like a little.
and I get that
I'm
know,
acting. I might be acting out
you're
right now.
you're trying to explore and find new things.
changing your
It
pronouns.
just came so fast and so bright and so much of it. I mean, you had new shoes when we went on the last trip. Now you've got a brand new pair of shoes that match the watch. None of it's bad in and of itself. It's just you're going hard. This is like midlife crisis where it's not just I think I'm going to buy a vet. This is you've bought the vet. You've got the gold chain. You've
Got the wallet.
Got the
Dude,
wallet.
I think you might be. This could be. I'm fucking almost 40 years old. This could be. Yeah.
It's just
Which-
all of it at once.
For me, I mean, maybe that's good. A $60 watch and a pair of $70 Vans
Way better than
is better than
C7
yeah.
or C8, and
Yeah,
Right.
C8's cool.
New Balances don't cost much.
Yeah. Do you still have the shoes that you wore?
Dude, check these
last-
suckers out. Look, Josh, calling this out. All right, so look, we can put these together. All right, bam. That's fucking. Tell me. All right,
That's
this
pretty
isn't that
sweet.
cool. We'll take that. We'll take that out of there. Get that guy going.
Dude,
we would like to thank Pac Sun for the wardrobe tonight.
Yeah.
It's a kick-ass pair of shoes. It's a kick-ass watch. I said it's just so
It's a lot for you.
you came in screaming.
Okay.
It's like whoa, I'm right here.
Yeah.
We can have a normal conversation.
Dude,
I,
it's
I
still
can get
it's,
behind the hat.
You're
it's
like
not,
a woman at a restaurant.
Oh,
just way
dude.
loud, super loud.
All right. Dude, there is a lot going on here. You may have noticed the wardrobe change during the commercial break.
Yep.
And I have a vintage Honda ATC hat,
Badass hat.
which was gifted to me today by my good buddy Tim.
GT Tim.
Yeah, Tim Johannes. And I dig the hat because he knows that I am a Honda ATC owner, which maybe not a lot of people know. And
That's
prob-
common knowledge.
Dude, that's probably something I would love to share that at some point on the podcast because that's a little sleeper there.
That'd be
That
a solid glove box piece.
yeah, I've got.
I think we need to restore
dude.
that.
No,
It's
his is-
restored,
yeah,
dude.
Stupid
Is it?
restored.
It's not even
yeah.
restored. It's
I
like
haven't seen
it's
it.
fucking basically Riddler level 1983 Honda ATC 70. Just modded the fuck out. I mean,
It'd fit in here.
yeah, if we could find a place to put it, it's still sitting in Mom's garage. Just picked up the Camaro the other day from Mom's, emptying out Mom's garage.
Clearing out.
Yeah, clearing it out. So yeah, dude, so that's a good glove box piece.
Three-wheeler when men were men. Or
That's
you died.
right, dude. I am an owner of multiple three-wheelers. Trizinger and an ATC 70.
And you brought so many different
There's a lot.
genres
Hey,
today.
John, there's a lot even you don't know about me, man. I am an elusive fucking character.
Yeah, you're a deep glass.
That's right.
Phil, what do you got for the glove box?
I got nothing
You
exciting.
got nothing?
That's
Standard
cool.
knife.
Yeah, nothing's awesome. Dude, that's cool.
This one's been seen before, but
Which is also cool.
the half face blade subhuman piece of shit.
Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
exactly
what that's
it's called.
called?
Yeah.
I can't carry that because I just spend all
That's-
day long.
dude,
like,
I do the
rolling
same
around and
thing.
fidgeting
Today
with it.
I got
It's
some
the,
reason I was in a fighting knife day.
That's
the
a knife.
ultimate adult fidget spinner.
It is. That's
It
a
is.
that. Well, no, there are. Have you seen the knives with the fidget spinner on them?
Yeah.
They have
that's
the
not
little-
for adults though.
Right. So this is this is more
the
for
adult
adults.
fidget spinner. Yeah.
It's a high end knife though, but and that thing is sharp as shit.
It will
It-
cut the shit out of you.
Yeah. Very cool knife, and it's honestly a lot of fun. Like you take that sucker, and when you're pulling that out of the pants pocket, it is
Yeah.
just a constant.
Well, we've
Spin.
gotten a decent amount of knives, and specifically from low volume handmade maker knives, and there's so much cool shit and all of that stuff. The half face blade stuff is
Sorry, I'm just trying to get back to
Playing with your watch.
time. There we go.
this is a smooth operator.
80085.
Everything
upside
about
down.
this is he does these drops periodically, so follow half face blades on Instagram, and next time he drops one of his subhuman pieces of shit, great name.
That's a heck of a
I
name.
would suggest getting it.
Oh,
it's
absolutely get it.
a really good one.
That's probably one of my top blades.
And go back. One of the best parts about this one, I don't know. They'll have to see. They can see what's on that blade.
Stand on the table, dude. Hold it up
That's-
closer to the camera.
Well, they'll cut it in. That's iron sharpens iron. We a few episodes back we had Jeremy Carey from IRONCLAD. He explained the iron sharpens iron thing. So it's one of my most prized possessions. I really like it.
Badass knife.
It was actually a really good one. It's pretty good. It's actually pretty.
You know what's pretty good is this fucking
Yeah, I know.
Woodford, dude. I'm enjoying sipping on this.
I know this was probably supposed to be a one glass and done, but we still got a lot more to go. We'll probably have to do 2 glasses. The second one will be a small one.
We just fill it back up with water so it looks like it's at the same level.
Also, guys, speaking of great products, this In the Glove Box segment is brought to you by none other than
Bear brakes.
Bear Brakes.
Bam.
We haven't seen Rick in a while.
We
Hasn't
haven't, dude. We haven't. I mean, I feel like I see Rick every day when I look through the wheels in the shop. I see
Rick's face.
all these Bear brakes. But we got some cool stuff coming out. You know what's interesting is you think so the logos and all the special stuff that Bayer will do for you. Sometimes you think you've got like a full wheel, and maybe it doesn't justify doing those cool ass custom rotors. But we're finishing up this 70 Chevelle for SEMA, and it has a traditional, what do they call it? Is it a Magnum 500 wheel? Correct me if I'm wrong. You might have to edit that.
It's like a Magnum 500 wheel.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is the Magnum 500.
Anyway, Jesse Greening made them. They're fucking awesome.
Yep.
And they just have small little windows in them. But you just see that custom little Bayer logo in it that they did for us with the RS logo in them. And it's so rad.
Just a hint of
Little nod.
little,
It is.
just
It
a
is.
little nicer.
Yeah.
The this isn't meant to be a flex, but speaking of Bear Brakes, so we're on the downhill portion of the move to the new facility, additional facility for chassis assembly, chassis part storage, chassis crating and shipping. A lot of things going on at that other facility.
We've expanded, and a lot of people don't know about that.
We've expanded in a big way. I don't know if it's something that is in Arizona or the boxes that they make or something. But we took all of our Bear Brakes inventory, which seemed like a lot in however many square footage that was, and moved it to the 35, 40,000, 38,000 square foot or whatever we moved into. And something, I don't know if it's a higher humidity level at that other place, 6 minutes.
Expanded.
They expanded. It's like the rabbits. They all had fucking babies. This is no fucking lie. I don't know if you've seen it since it's been organized. There is 120 foot long of pallet racking, 45 foot tall, fucking slap full of Bear Brakes.
I think we have more Bear Brakes
It's
than
the
Bear Brakes
wall
has.
of Bear.
Yeah. And we had it organized in a way that it was difficult to see the volume. Now that we've got it spread out, we can see every single work order and all that. When we were putting it all on there, I started getting a little bit panicky because I was like, somebody done fucked up.
Where did all these come
Why
from?
do we have this much? And then you start looking and you're like, holy fucking shit. Like work order. This is all, we got a shit ton of Bear Brakes.
Again, to speak to that solid company through this whole crazy pandemic with all sorts of supply chain issues,
They
Bear
have
has been
insanely on it.
the money.
It goes to show what happened when you make it yourself right there.
Yep. Right there in the old US of A.
Yeah. So again, like we said before, can't say enough good about Bear Brakes. We'd be saying this shit.
I'll say it.
Regardless.
I'll say it till I'm blue in the face.
Keep
I'll
saying it.
scream it
I
from the
wanna-
rooftops.
To learn more about Bear Brakes, go to bear.com. That's BAER.com. You can also call us at Roadster Shop and talk to sales guys if you have any questions. It's time for the Roadster Shop Hall of Fame. Roadster Shop Hall of Fame. It's time.
I can't come off that negative energy and
I know. Phil knows a way to anchor something just dead. This is a segment where we take a few minutes and we talk about some of the old builds, some of the ones that were instrumental in where we are today.
Sure.
What do we have up for this week for the Roadster Shop Hall of Fame?
I don't know.
We have.
Yeah.
What do we have this week for the Roadster Shop Hall of Fame?
We have Chris Jacobs' 1966 Chevelle, which is a very interesting car. Kind of a milestone for the Roadster Shop. This is really what kicked off our independent rear suspension. Cool ass car. We cannot take credit for building the whole car because we didn't paint it, we didn't wire it, we didn't do all the pretty stuff. But what we did do is stuff the very first Roadster Shop independent rear fast track chassis underneath it, and had a tremendous amount of success on the racetrack, on the autocross course, and really on the street with it. Very, very cool car. Kind of just a milestone, I'd say. For us, great customer, Chris and Linda Jacobs, become good friends over the years, and it's wild to look back at that. I can't believe it was that long ago.
They were going like 12 years now?
2010?
2010 or 2011 is where I saw one of the articles from.
So
Yeah, but
this is a good one, Josh. Click on that. Well, now you just clicked off of
Sorry.
it.
Which one?
There was the one with all the quotes. on
Yeah, I
it.
tried to click on that.
Okay, and now
doesn't
it's
take
now it
you-
has disappeared.
No, it doesn't take you to that thing.
Okay, it is gone. Never to be seen again. Bam, there it is. Okay, so look at this. This was cool. And I think we actually generated this, but these are factual quotes. These are things that people said. We took this out to the Super Chevy Challenge. This was back when the El Toro base
military base
was around, which was very cool. I mean, we did a lot of really neat stuff out there with Super Chevy back in the day. That was the place to be, and it was tons. It was like the proving grounds for these cars.
Yeah.
And we did some very cool shootouts, some events, things like that. And these are some of the things that were said.
Of all the cars that attacked this year's handling challenge, the Roadster Shop Chevelle brought handling and performance to an entirely new level.
Just this side of automotive nirvana.
No car felt as balanced and joined together as this one did.
Mary
said
Posey.
Mary Posey.
Followed by stick, you bitch.
Stick, you bitch.
Those are good things. People said some good things.
Was that car the first one that was like performance only oriented and just like, I know the Fast Track did it, but then with the IRS was kind of like, you know what, let's push it a couple of degrees.
Yeah, it's kind of like we needed to step the bar up quite a bit, and I think it was cool working with Chris and Linda. They kind of let us take control and run with a lot of the stuff. Jared had an idea that he wanted to do, design an independent rear end. There was nothing else out there like it in our industry, and we needed a platform to prove it on. Chris came to us with a Chevelle that was actually started out on a competitor's chassis, and he wasn't very happy with it after he had bought the car.
And whose competitor was that?
Our competitor.
Gotta try.
Who said there's?
Came from nowhere.
Somebody's. What'd you say?
Yeah, keep going.
So the Schwartz wasn't with him, despite the marketing events, and
Fucking Phil. Confrontation.
Yeah.
sorry.
This is a professional podcast we're doing here.
At
At any rate, I think here's the deal: the car wasn't competitive on the track, nor was it enjoyable to drive on the street. And what we set out to do was make something that you could drive to the track. You know, we looked at it like this would be like, yeah, I feel like this would be very egotistical to say, but like a GT3. Probably not a great comparison because it's a fucking phenomenal car. But
in our mind, that was the direction.
That was the
goal.
direction. Something you could jump in. You're not swapping springs. You're not swapping shocks. You're not doing anything. You're driving the car to the road course, to the autocross, and driving it exactly the way that you drove it there. And you're being very competitive. And that is exactly what that car did. We did some initial tuning on it, got a really good valve combo set with some Penske shocks on that right out of the gate, and just fucking ripped that thing. And it's a big wheelbase car, heavy car.
Yeah, it was like a 3,800 pound car, and we're going up against some pretty stripped down, carbon fiber fender hood, no interior race cars, and this was something that Chris wanted to drive, not on a daily basis, but drive like a regular hot rod, and then also be super competitive on the autocross. And
he's still driving that thing to this day, isn't he?
He is
still driving it, man. It was just back here for some updates, just tuning some things up on it, and always good to see it again. And now it's back.
How many
to
miles
Chris.
he got on that?
He's got a lot of miles. I don't know, but it's 20,000+ miles.
Say at least 10 to 15,000 of that are on autocross or road courses, and the rest are driving to or from there. I mean, he had a insane schedule of, car events, road race, autocross events.
Let's see if he answers if we text, because I think it might be. I think it might be a lot more.
We're texting him on the
this is
episode.
on the air.
Why don't you call him and put him up to the mic?
Let's see. See how important the text message is if he actually responds.
That decides if we air this or not.
Yeah. If he doesn't respond, I think you should call him. Let him tell the public how many miles are on it.
Dun, dun, dun. Do we have the picture of the ad that we did for it with the upside down?
This is a cool picture, courtesy of Rob McGaffin. And this still, we've got
the Chris Jacobs. Go Roadster Shop.
We have a picture of this in Chris Gray's office that I get to look at every day. I've Googled some. Oh, we have a response. Bam. And I was right. 20,000+ miles.
How many miles are on that car?
20,000+ miles. That just goes to show the accuracy of what I say. The things that I say, dude, you can take them to the bank. I mean, I am fucking, dude, it is like, if you ask me a question, it's.
Can we also text your wife and see her response to that comment?
That's an interesting takeaway from that little exchange there. That was confirmation about how right you are.
Dude, it just validates my integrity.
I thought you were talking about how good the car was. No?
Yeah.
Okay. It's one of the coolest ads, coolest shots we've ever done of the car upside down.
still to this day, I think that's
Did
coolest
not
fucking
destroy
ad.
the roof.
Yeah. The only thing cooler than that particular picture is the picture of Phil that's done in sequence of Phil spinning that fucker out at
Gingerman.
Gingerman?
Yeah.
The very first time we took
It's
it
in
out.
your office.
With
It is.
There's nothing better than having the customer in the passenger seat of the car while you loop the thing out at the end of a straightaway doing probably 100 miles an
100
hour
something. Yeah.
through the grass. And yeah, I mean,
Full like 720 off the track.
it's pretty cool
Yeah.
Racing.
I was trying to
to
Push
win.
it
to
the
win.
limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just came in a little bit too hot and came
You don't-
around on me.
If you don't find the limits, you don't know where they are.
Exactly. If you're not on the edge, you're just taking up space.
That's right. Got to get up in the morning, get up in the world.
That one
Hey.
actually doesn't apply here.
Fast
Hey,
is
you might-
loose,
you
loose
might-
is
Fast is
slow.
loose and on the edge out of control.
At this point,
Get your Days of Thunder quotes correct.
if we're gonna drop all these, you might as
Live
well
fast, die hard.
Google the "hang in there" so we can show everybody the kitten poster. Because if we're just gonna say motivational things,
Ours were funny.
then I'm
though.
gonna say "hang in there."
All right, before we go, I want to remind everybody, send in your cocktail recipes. Urge you to get out there and try some of that Stillhouse. Stillhouse has got the apple crisp. They've got the black cherry. They got the peach
And the black bourbon.
and the black bourbon. Get out there, try some of that. If you're new into bourbon, I think you're going to fucking love it. If you've been in bourbon for a while, you're going to be real surprised at what that black bourbon tastes like. And make up some cocktails. Send us some recipes. We're going to try them. If we like them, we'll
If you've got your favorite cocktail recipe, something that's bourbon related, send it over, man. We'll make it with the Stillhouse Black and
Try
review it.
something new.
send in your questions you want answered on the podcast. Send in your recommended guests of people that you're like, you know what, this dude or girl or shop or whoever would be a riot. We want to hear them. Thanks again for listening to Oil and Whiskey with the Roadster Shop, an Ironclad original. If you like the show, be sure to leave a rating and a review. Thanks again to our guest, Tom Gattuso. It actually was a really good one. It really was.
Tom was cool, dude.
Tom was a good one.
A lot of very cool insider information
Yeah,
on the
good little
SEMA
behind
show.
the scenes on what goes on at SEMA.
For sure.
Absolutely. Also, don't forget to send us your questions. It could be about anything, and we'll answer them on a future episode. Just DM us on IG at Oil and Whiskey Podcast or at Roadster Shop. We'll see you again